Greetings and salutations, all y'all metalheads and butterflies, keys. I'm holding a keychain with a key on it. All people named Pavlos, all people named George. There's probably more people named George than Pavlos. I'm Pavlos.
And I'm George.
And we're just a couple metalheads that like to talk about metal because it's lit and awesome and yeah.
Insert positive adjective here.
Nothing's gonna be inserted. It's just a pause.
Well,
insert 5-second pause. I'm talking now, George. That wasn't 5 seconds for us, but to our viewers, it will be 5 seconds. We want as much time wasted so we get more of that YouTube revenue. You know.
I don't think that's how this works, Pablos.
If you hear like a weird like gushing sound, it's because I'm drinking water. I'm about to do that again. I don't know if you heard it, but
I too just took a swig of water.
I took a swig of that beer. I'm underage. I don't drink beer. I was making a joke, so don't take that literally.
Ah, so he confesses. Oh, scandalous.
Dang.
All right, so
you took my sweet roll.
Okay.
Skyrim references. Oh yeah, we're starting. Woo!
Yeah, we're doing a show here, Pablos. Get your game face on.
Okay. My game face is a dead skin mask. Slayer references.
Good.
Did it sound like anything like the song?
No.
It's trying to sing the chorus.
Sound like, wow. Well, you tried. I appreciated that.
Oh, shoot. I feel like that's the wrong one. I may have just sung the wrong chorus. Because I get that song and South of Heaven mixed up.
No, I mean, it sounded... Bro, okay. Not even either of them. That's Seasons of the Abyss.
Oh,
the title track. God
dang it! Shoot, all the Slayer diehard fans like you are gonna now be like, unsubscribe, unfollow. George, you're just like, well, I'm not working with you anymore.
Yeah.
Oh, Dead Skin Mask is the one where he's like. I don't remember the lyrics, so something like that.
Dead Skin Mask. Are we still talking about choruses? Because the
chorus. What's the chorus of Dead Skin Mask? Or the
It's dance with the dead in my dreams.
That's what I was sort of trying. Yeah, that one.
Listen to the
screams.
Yeah, that one. Taking my soul.
Temptations lost all control. My name's Tom Araya. I am cool.
Why do you sound like a pirate all of a sudden?
Hailstorm? Hailstorm cover all Slayer songs except what? Oh yeah, we're starting.
Yeah, we're doing a show. Okay, so before we get into our originally planned list of stories,
our
GC, our good content.
I thought you were gonna say GCF, greatest common factor.
Yes, all you math fans out there are gonna love that.
I love math metal. I like Lateralis and looking at the math behind it. Whoa, and the song Parabola is the best song in the world because it has a math reference.
Okay, all right, chill out. So earlier today, as we're recording this, it's Saturday. It's a Saturday. It's September 5th of the year 2020. And
no way.
And just today, our good old friends from Poland, Behemoth, they did the initial stream for their in absentia day virtual concert experience.
Woo! I love experiencing absentia day. Oh my gosh! I wasn't even there. Were you, George?
Why, yes, Mr. hillbilly.
You can call me
crazy
Rick
sounding
Shovel.
Pablos.
You can call me Rick Shovel.
Oh no, not this. Not you again.
Rick Shovel's my other
alter ego.
It's like how people have stage names like Slash. That's not his real name. I don't know his real name.
I don't think anybody does.
His name's Slash. That's what he's saying.
But anyway, so I yes, to answer your question, I did attend this virtual concert. I attended the initial streaming when it was live, and I'm not going to talk about the pre-show because that was just a bunch of behind the scenes interviews and an opening set from this weird but kind of cool avant-garde jazz death metal band called Imperial Triumphant.
Interesting. Huh.
I'm not going to go into too much detail about that. I will tell you a little bit about the show, the main showing. So the whole idea behind this virtual event was Behemoth performed in an abandoned evangelical church that's privately owned, and it's in an unknown location in Poland. And they decided to create 2 hours worth live performance with cinematic elements to it. And the performance was separated into 4 acts. So Act 1, Act 2, Act 3, Act 4, etc.
Act 23.
God, how I wish for that many acts from Behemoth.
That's the name of a song, if I remember.
Yes, 23, the Youth Manifesto. So this off of Thelema.6. This performance featured some of their classic songs. It also featured songs that haven't been performed, deep cuts that haven't been performed in a very long time, and it featured the live debut of one of their new songs, Evoe. I don't know how to pronounce that, but the one of the new songs off of the A Forest EP.
Fancy.
So of some of the more popular songs, they played Blow Your Trumpets, Gabriel, Conquer All, Wolves of Siberia, Slaves Shall Serve, Of Fire and the Void, and Chant for Ezdakon 2000 EV, as well as Bart Sabel in it to throw in there as well. But
good mix.
Also, like I said, they also played some deep cuts like Prometheon, Shala Mortukam Wojciechka. I don't know how to pronounce it. I'm sorry, all you Polish people out there. I apologize. They also performed
Polish fans.
Cool. I know, I wish, right?
Nurgle's watching.
He's upset. They also performed As Above, So Below, Sculpting the Throne of Seth, and Decade of Therion, among others. So I love this. It was a super cool event. It was lots of dope musicianship, very cool, disturbing imagery and sounds, and lots of epic pyrotechnics that would so much so that it would make Slayer concerts look like a firecracker.
What about Rom?
No. Well, yeah. I'm using hyperbole, Pavlos. It's what we do to over-exaggerate details to make them seem a lot more epic. But whatever. I'm just kidding. It was a great show. I bought my virtual ticket one of the first days that this was announced, and
the new iTickets brought to you by Apple. Our sponsor today is Apple. Get your new iTickets. They're not even real.
Yeah, and we're not even sponsored by Apple, so why are we even talking about
it's our unofficial sponsor. Well, I'm trying to get them to sponsor us by me continuing to say it. Oh, the dogs! Wow! It's happening again, boys!
They're also happy about the unofficial sponsorship with Apple.
And they were at the Behemoth virtual concert, apparently.
They're a part of the Wolves of Siberia.
My dog's favorite song was they wanted to they wanted to hear Vinvam Sabati, but they didn't hear it and they cried.
Oh, isn't that sad?
They're into the deep cuts only. They
Yeah.
Bartzabel and any of that stuff.
But long story short,
too.
Long story short, this concert was very much worth going to, and it was very well done. A lot of times it did feel almost like a movie in some cases. And
virtual movie.
I just wanted to acknowledge and give this wonderful event the praise that it deserves on our podcast before we jump right into our other content. What are your thoughts on this very skeletal and not very well explained verbal presentation on this concert, Pavlos?
It sounds pretty lit and awesome and metal, and it sounds like good times were had. The diehard fans would be excited, and awesome.
Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised if this gets like CD, vinyl, DVD, Blu-ray-esque treatment, like in the way distant future when this event becomes more classic and kind of more
cassette tape,
monolithic 8-track. That's it. There's nothing else. There's nothing else to say. I'm done. I'm done. That was it. Behemoth. Whoa, done. Cool.
Whoa, Behemoth. He's the guy. He's the dude that goes "I" in the beginning of the song. He goes "I," but I can't. There, did it.
That was not your best.
And then it's like a weird.
That's
echo.
More like it.
It's like an echo, like a.
Yeah.
It's good to you know. It takes you not to do business. Yeah, you're doing what Nurgle would do. Oh no, what have I done with my life? Why? How did I I try not to make myself a meme, but now I am. I've become a meme to these people. We're literally making memes.
And literally only to these people, the 2 people on Earth.
What if Nurgle actually sponsored us?
I would be honored and confused at the same time.
Okay.
I feel like why?
Yeah. All right.
So
next,
not everything has been good news.
So
as of late.
I want to say last weekend, unexpectedly we heard, and this kind of we talked about this band in our last episode.
Yeah.
Oh, they could be the face of a new wave of, I don't know. I didn't say this exactly, but I thought of after we did that episode, they could be the face of a new incarnation or a new form of thrash metal. Because Slayer, if you look at like their videos and stuff, a lot of Slayer fans are like, Slayer and Power Trip are the 2 best bands ever. They're the 2 best thrash metal, and like a lot of stuff like that. I'm like, well, with that type of talk, then they can become. But the lead vocalist, Riley Gale, sadly passed away last weekend. Don't know how he died, but it was so out of nowhere. Like, there was no updates on anything, or if he was sick or not. I don't think he has any social media accounts, and the Power Trip's main account didn't say anything about that. But he died at the age of 34. And
wow.
The funny thing, the whole band has never lost a single member.
Really?
No, they have. Okay, the drummer was replaced, but that was 2 years after they started, and they hadn't released any of their studio albums yet. And then they released their first studio album a few years afterwards. So they kept the same lineup from it's like System of a Down. They had one drummer before, but
right, like the same lineup in their professional studio album career.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
yeah, that you're saying, sorry.
I don't know, and my condolences to his family and of course the band themselves. This was a shock for the whole community, and I want to give some shout outs to some people. There were a lot of, you could tell he was well loved. People, the posts I saw on Instagram were all like, "Oh, he was an outgoing guy," and like the comments on YouTube videos were like, "I met him. He was really friendly, and he was just so outgoing, and he is good at speaking his mind." Matt Heffy from Trivium said that he was an honor to have toured with as well, and his last thing that he recorded on was with on Body Count's new album, and Ice-T was thankful that he got to meet him and was able to get him on a song.
Yeah, I mean, it's always super sad to lose anybody like that. Like we all know, or at least many of us know what it is to lose a loved one, whether it be a pet or a person or a family member, a friend. Like we all know what that's like, and it always hurts when we lose an artist, especially to us music fans, because that's what gives us life and enhanced meaning to living.
Yeah.
And this loss in particular hurts a lot, like a lot more, because as you said, they were up and coming. They were a super promising act. Their album Nightmare Logic was an absolute triumph.
Yeah, and even though their first record, Manifest Decimation, wasn't as popular, I listened to both, and it's still, I mean, the only thing that's different about it is the production level is a bit lower, but other than that, still, if you like thrash and just hardcore music, even if you like hardcore punk, you would find this very interesting and would love it. The music is very good.
And I don't mean to sound insensitive, because I wasn't a huge fan, or I wasn't a very intent follower of this band, because I wasn't too I wasn't too keen on them. Like they were fine, like I liked what they were doing, but not to the point of like me being a fan. But I'm intrigued to see what this band will do moving forward, because they could pull an Alice in Chains, a Stone Temple Pilots, and find some other vocalist that could pull somewhat his own weight, and continue on as Power Trip, or they could dissolve and then reform with a different guy under a different name. So just like let Power Trip be Power Trip, like let that say immortalized in the history books, and then just continue music with a new name. Or they could just dissolve and stay kaput, just don't do anything, just not make any more music, which would be sad, but I totally understand it. But yeah, this band has been presented with a very painful but intriguing crossroads that they can choose from.
Yes, but yeah, so they have options of what they can do with in the future. Though if they do end up getting another lead singer, it could go either way. It's either gonna be okay, we're liking it, or oh my lord, this is terrible, based on history. But sometimes that's a good sign that your old lead singer meant so much that you can't it's hard to replace him.
Well, I think it should be kept in mind that when facing these kinds of decisions and finding a new lead singer, think of it not as replacing them, but more like finding a good enough substitute that could do do the deceased one proud. You know what I'm saying? Like give them honor, but
that's a better way of putting
it. Like fill in their shoes enough so that they could still be a band, but not outright replace them. Because again, like depending on how people feel, like everyone's unique, and especially people like Lane Staley and like Chester Bennington or Scott Whalen. Like those are vocalists that they're one of a kind. You're not going to get those kinds of people back, and it's important to honor that you're not going to find another one, but then at the same time it's also important that you might want to seek a new vocalist to find some healing, to move on and to continue making music.
With that, I hope that all the members of Power Trip, hope everyone does well. I'm going to assume that they're not going to be on the Creator or Lamb of God tour anymore.
Mm-hmm.
But it would be cool if they did a show like it is memory, and they had like I don't know, they brought out like Phil Anselmo out to do the lead.
Oh yeah.
Instead.
Yeah, they could totally pull like an Alice in Chains and bring up like a ton of guest vocalists.
Or like when Chester died, and then that Linkin Park did that as well.
Yeah. They also had, I think System of a Down was there as well.
Yeah,
right?
all the members except for Serge were there. They and maybe I don't know. I think John was there. I remember at the live stream, but that would be cool. I mean, they're not as prominent and as famous as Linkin Park is, and they probably never will be. But I could be very surprised. They could end up being the biggest band. I mean, how many people thought that Nirvana were going to be the biggest band in the world? Nobody. And then they did.
Well, yeah, and it's hard to say with the way that history played out.
Yeah.
Kurt taking his own life, but like they very well could have been like a Candlebox, that just had like a string of good albums and then totally forgotten. But I mean,
we'll see.
Who knows?
All right.
Yeah.
Rest in peace, Riley Gale. I salute you. You can't see me, but I'm giving him a salute and a metal horns.
Yeah, giving you a metal horn salute, Mr. Gales. Please rest peacefully.
He didn't get the executioner's tax, or maybe I could say he did, because that's to diehard fans. That's a song that they wrote, and it's in a good way his own song.
Mm-hmm.
The executioner's here, and there's gonna be hell to pay. Swear the axe.
Does everyone like Pavlos's onomatopoeia rendition of Executioner's Tax Swing of the Axe by Power Trip?
Whoa, they love it.
And the crowd goes wild.
I'll insert some Swing of the Axe. All right, did it. All right. Up next on our lovely news.
Man, this guy just wants to keep being in here. We put him in at our last episode, and here he is again. This is nuts.
Who?
Well, CMFT, dude. Come on. That guy.
I thought you were talking about me. I thought you thought I was doing a voice, and I was like, what?
No. I was referring to Mr. Corey.
Yeah, he keeps showing up. It's like, he wants to be on there. He wants to be the center of attention. I mean, I think certain people would like to be talked about the exact same amount, but they just won't. First.
But yeah, anyway, so Corey Taylor, he released a new song called Highway 666.
And that's actually a real highway. Backstory. Claimed to be haunted. A lot of car crashes have happened there. There's a string of murder of a guy who took a. There were three guys who took control of like a vehicle nearby.
Mhm.
Then they shot a police officer, drove out. They switched vehicles and forced a guy to give them their vehicle. And then they injured two other police officers. When they got to Highway 666, they disappeared into the canyon, and they have never. One of the three guys was found, and he, from what I remember, he shot some policemen and then killed himself.
Ooh.
And the other
Jeez.
two haven't been cited, haven't been seen since the events in the '90s, and it's a very mysterious things. There's like a house where a little kid fell into a well along the road. There's a whole lot of weird stuff. If you want to believe it's haunted, then you can. Or if you want to believe it just also happens to be okay, it just happens to be the number 666, and it happens to have all these things, and do that too. But yeah, that's the name of the Corey Taylor song. What'd you think of it, George?
It was pretty neat. Okay. I want to say that, picture this if you will. You take Johnny Cash sounding riffs, like the way that they're structured.
Okay.
Throw in some British heavy metal styled guitar solos.
Okay.
And then throw in some proto thrash speed metal-esque drum beats that are scattered throughout. Mix it all together, and you basically get this song. That's basically what it was. It was
very hillbilly country, but also got some heavy stuff in it.
Yeah. Lyrically, this is a very interesting song because it certainly sounds like there are allusions to maybe a battle with a vice or several vices, maybe.
It was kind of unclear.
Or even maybe even the renouncing of a friendship that proved to be painful internally, like emotionally speaking. So there's many ways that you could look at this song, and that's one of the things that Corey Taylor has always been super gifted at, is writing lyrics that many people can look at and interpret based on their own experiences.
It's a lot.
You know, nothing is just based on like how he originally wrote it. Many things can be derived and interpreted from it. But I do want to say that for this upcoming record, I really like how each single that he's released has its own distinct identity. Like they're each very different from one another, right? And
we said this last week. He's putting everything he hasn't worked on and just shoving it into an album. A little bit like CMFT Must Be Stopped was like a hard rock hip hop anthem song.
Yeah.
And then
Black Eyed Blues is like country blues
60s
pop, and then
60s love song or something.
And then this is like
Devil Went Down to Georgia meets some like
I was thinking maybe more like Ghost Riders in the Sky meets metal.
Actually, yeah, that's kind of about me with like a heavy version of that, but like with a with a different story.
Yeah,
that's a good.
So I like how he's arranging these singles, and that it definitely bolsters the claim that he made that this is going to be a very incredibly diverse and different album experience than he has ever released, period. I'm still not swayed to buying it, but from a creative artistic standpoint, I am loving what he's doing with this. I think this is fantastic.
And he listens to a lot of music. A lot.
This album's going to be proof in and of itself.
It's like me. He basically listens to what I listen to. Except I'm very picky on my metal. It's weird.
Yes, you are.
It's really
I have.
weird. It's very, very
Well,
strange how I choose.
and granted, I've also become pretty picky of my metal in recent days. But I don't have as diverse of a selection as you do. Like again, I mainly stick to rock, metal, and electronica, and then maybe a few other things, but that's about it. Like those are my three. Like electronic, metal, and rock are kind of my three areas that I stick to most.
Yeah.
But it's all good.
All right. Awesome.
Next up,
Oh,
this is
next,
exciting.
yeah,
This next one's
the
kinda cool.
one and only. There's this documentary about this dude. You may have heard of him. The one and only, the Prince of Darkness, Godfather of heavy metal, Ozzy Osbourne.
I'm Ozzy Osbourne, the Prince of Darkness.
Sharon, help me! I need to get out of bed. Sharon, change my diaper.
Sharon!
What should I do, Sharon? Ozzy, what you need to do is cancel your tour. Okay, Sharon, I want to die anyway. Marilyn Manson was waiting for me. I'll have to call him. Hey, Marilyn. Yes, Ozzy, how are you? Oh, well, Sharon said I can't do it. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Ozzy. I'll just not tour. I'll just decide not to even do a tour. I'll just go lay down and sleep and hang out with Johnny Depp. Okay, have fun with Johnny Depp. Yeah, me, him, and Nicolas Cage are going to our mansion.
Oh, to all the listeners at home, you can't see this, but I am crying because of this little improvisational performance that just occurred right before me.
It went from just
So
to him
funny.
calling Marilyn Manson. I could have kept going, but
I know you could have. You
I was thinking. My favorite moment. People have so many stories they can talk to about Ozzy Osbourne. Like Corey Taylor, he said the first time he met Ozzy, he was like, "Okay, I'm gonna meet him. I have this whole thing I want to say to him." I'm like, how great he is. Walks in. The first thing I says is, "Hi, hi, can I be in your band? Can I be number 9 in your band?" And he's like, "Anytime, Ozzy. You can be number 9 anytime you want." Okay. And he was like, "That's the coolest thing ever. Ozzy wants to be in my band." I mean, what if Ozzy came into our band and said, "Hey, just a couple Metalheads. Can I be on a podcast, please? Please, just be a podcast."
Yeah. Oh my
So
god.
Ozzy, you could be that whenever you want. We'll just couple Metalheads and
Ozzy on
and an ex-drug user.
Well, see, you would be able to say that. I would just be sitting in my chair, stunned to silence, not being able to say a word until he leaves the room, and then I'd quiver out, "It was Ozzy." My god.
That's why if we ever end up doing an interview, you're just gonna be like, "Hi, how are you?" And I'll be like, "Well, how are you doing?" Unless, I don't know. I think depending on the person who's in the room, I'll probably be like a little nervous.
Yeah.
Well, right. But yeah,
anyway,
documentary about our boy Ozzy. Well, he's more like a grandfather right now.
Many people.
He's
hero.
And yeah, I don't remember the official date when it's coming out.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. I feel like we could start with what you think this will mainly talk about.
Well, from what it seems, I think it'll be fairly straightforward, like fairly autobiographical, like talks about his career with Black Sabbath and then his explosion as a solo artist, and then his bouts with drugs and alcohol and other vices that he's dealt with throughout his career. And they'll probably also touch on his ingenious idea of making Ozfest Ozfest happen, and it becoming one of the biggest metal festivals in the world. So I think it's just gonna be it's just gonna be I think basically an overview of his life's accomplishments and achievements.
Yeah,
I would think.
Some of the people they're interviewing to talk about him are actually Marilyn Manson is on that, and I believe if I remember, Rob Halford was on that. Is going to be interviewed.
Really? I know the trailer. I know the trailer had Rick Rubin in there, and
I thought I saw
also Rob Zombie.
Oh, Rob Zombie. Never mind. It was Rob Zombie was on there.
Yeah.
So I saw Rob Halford in the CMFT Must Be Sought music video, and that's what I was thinking of. But I saw Marilyn on the interview list too. They're really good friends, I think. If I remember, like the pictures they have together, they're like, yeah, we're best friends. We're gonna work on a hip hop album together. Ozzy.
Oh yeah, those. Also, yeah. Did you say Post Malone?
Post Malone was on there too.
Yeah.
Post Malone. Post Malone is. I hate it when most people in our generation are like, is Ozzy Osbourne famous because of Post Malone? And I'm like, do you know?
No.
Ozzy may have invented Post Malone. Post Malone was in a metal band before he did this.
Yeah.
Yeah,
true.
He did a show he was wearing a black metal t-shirt, and all the fans were like, ew, he listens to black metal. And he's like, okay. I'm wearing tattoos on my face, and that's what you're mad about? Not even the way I look. It's you're mad that I wore a shirt for a black metal band. Thank you.
Yeah.
He listens to a lot of and I like him because he's original, but again, I don't want to talk about Post Malone right now. We just sort of, yeah. There's not much I can say about him except that he's kind of cool. He's cool. He actually challenged the Ozzy's one of Ozzy's producers in a guitar solo challenge.
Dude, that's rad. That's awesome. And this documentary is going to be called "The 9 Lives of Ozzy Osbourne," right?
Isn't that because he's a cat.
Obviously, like
I'm a cat now. Oh no, he's more like a bat. He got bit by a bat, turned into a cat, and now he's.
Yes.
He's just an old
that
monkey.
Make sense?
He's just an old monkey, old wrinkly monkey.
Yeah, that's very true. Anyway, I'm pretty excited for this documentary, mainly just because the thing about Ozzy Osbourne is that I'm going to say this straight up. Only album from his solo career that I own is Blizzard of Oz, and it's not even my favorite record. It's a good one. It's a decent one, but it has Crazy Train and some of his other notable hits. Randy Rhoads being on that record, going nuts.
Yeah. Randy Rhoads.
But and mainly I like his I like Ozzy's material with Black Sabbath. So I'm not the biggest Ozzy fan, but the thing about Ozzy is this. You could not ask for a more loving and nurturing patron of heavy metal than Ozzy. He has done so much for the genre and pushed and has pushed the genre to continue still being a means for a certain extreme type of music to live on in the modern era, in spite of all these pop, hip hop, mainstream music. Like, I mean, seriously, like, didn't you tell me that, like, the first Ozfest he was, like, welcoming in, like, bands like Tool and Marilyn Manson and
Fear Factory was there, too.
Fear Factory.
And they weren't even big. That's what
Yeah.
Again, so Ozfest, I would love to go to an Ozfest.
Oh, absolutely.
First of all, I get to lay eyes upon maybe the most legendary man in metal. Ozzy Osbourne,
Yeah.
but he also has some of like the coolest openers. Like Korn has been on there, Judas Priest, Fear Factory's been on it, not recently. They were on like the first four, and then he just
Slipknot. I think Slipknot
No,
was
Slipknot's not on
Ozfest
there.
too.
They've been on, yeah. And sometimes Slipknot's festival, not fest, they'll actually do stuff with Ozfest, like the day.
Yeah, they did the combo. I remember that from a couple of years back.
If I get older, I might drive to if they keep Ozfest going. I feel like they would keep Ozfest going after.
Oh, absolutely.
He dies. And they would just
Yeah.
bands like Korn lead the festival, or System of a Down. So
Well,
System of a Down's been on there too.
Well, I mean, I think back in the mid '90s, the first Ozfest, the whole idea was that the '90s reunion of the original Black Sabbath lineup was headlining, and then they had a bunch of the up and coming names of metal a part of that. So you had Pantera, you had Marilyn Manson, you had Fear Factory, you had probably Machine Head, maybe, and stuff like that, leading the charge. So, and I think as Black Sabbath members have retired and have taken a seat back, it's just become like a metal festival. So it's like, okay, we're just gonna have 3 days, and there's gonna be a headliner for each day, and there's gonna be a bunch of opening bands, etc. So I think it's kind of just become one of those festivals. But even so, it's a magical. It is a magical place in the world of heavy metal. It's highly revered.
It's something that I would love to go to. I've heard people see Ben there. I know a guy saw Disturbed there. Back when they did like the like in Liberate era, so real old school.
Like
when
Believe,
Prayer, like when Prayer first came out, and they opened with Prayer at shows.
Oh, dude,
and,
yeah, that's sweet.
And also, I know someone who said that there was I don't know if this was at Ozfest, but there was a show where it was Black Sabbath and Ozzy Osbourne separate, and this was when they brought back this is when Ronnie James Dio was either brought back or was in the band. And he show because Ozzy was headlining, and they had Rob Halford come on.
Oh, really?
Which is still that's a perfectly fine replacement.
Oh, absolutely.
Because the thing was, Ozzy didn't do it because at the time they were like, Tony Iommi's like, I want to do like Neon Nights and stuff like that, and he's like, I'm not gonna sing that, which. Sense. He has every right to not sing that.
Right. Yeah. Because it's not his material.
So they just had Rob Halford come out, and then Ozzy came out for a song with Black Sabbath and Rob Halford or something.
Okay.
Legendary.
Yeah, I recall this being a legendary story. I think this was in the early '90s, right? Because I remember Ronnie James Dio returned to the fold to Black Sabbath very briefly in the early '90s for the album Dehumanizer, I think, and that must have been for that tour cycle or that promotional cycle around that time.
I also know that in the '80s and '90s, Ozzy came back to do a few shows with Black Sabbath.
Interesting.
There's some recordings of Ozzy looking weird in the '80s, in his weird '80s look, but with Black Sabbath. And I'm gonna say Ozzy basically invented headbanging.
Yeah.
You'll see him in like videos where they're playing the song Black Sabbath, and he's like,
with his long.
Now he does this.
Hair.
He just does this. And you just
people. Okay, Pavlos, I don't think this translates very well because people can't
he just bounces.
See what your body is doing.
He's bouncing.
Yeah. I know what you're saying. Like, back in the day when he was a younger and probably more healthy man. He headbanged, and nowadays, he just kind of bounces. He just
says, and he goes, Sharon.
Yeah, it's the only
bat hit my mouth. I accidentally bit a bat again. Ozzy, why'd you do that? I just saw the bat and I noticed to go. Why didn't you go eat a sandwich every time you go on stage? Instead, stop eating bats. I'm okay. I'll eat a dove this time. He ate a pigeon once
Wow.
on live TV or something.
But okay. Anyway, regardless of Ozzy's strange antics, I'm excited for this documentary because, again, we get to see. It sounds like it's going to be a pretty thorough look at Ozzy's career and what he's done,
and the period
and
when
I can't.
I was gonna say, the period where he had his show, the Osbournes, which has rebooting for a special season.
Really?
That's I heard a rumor on it. I could be wrong, but I think I saw somewhere that there was a rumor that be rebooted for another special season.
Well, as much as I love Ozzy, I'm gonna probably stay out of watching that. But anyways, I'm just excited to see. Mainly, I'm excited to see all the people that get interviewed and pay Ozzy tribute because Ozzy's
the ghost of Randy Rhoads. Woo!
Oh yeah, very good. Because I'm just excited. I think more than anything, I'm just excited to see like all of the musicians that entertain me as an individual, and like, you know, people that I look up to Ozzy, like, and give him praise, and I heavily look forward to seeing that. I mean, Metallica has to be on there, right? I mean,
Lars Ulrich.
I mean, Ozzy handpicked them to be his opener during his tour cycle for The Ultimate Sin. It was
the Master of Puppets era.
That's what I'm saying. It was like when Metallica just released Master of Puppets, Ozzy handpicked them to be his opener, and I think I read online that some people everyone was thinking that's the one good thing that Ozzy did during the Ultimate Sin era, because if I remember correctly, Ultimate Sin was more glam metal than his traditional heavy metal in the
Shot
past.
in the Dark was on there, if I remember right.
Yes, and
that's
people
great.
like that song.
Love that song.
Anyway,
but yeah, Ozzy, Lars Ulrich comes in. Yeah, I remember when we were opening for Ozzy.
I remember that time when
oh my gosh, that was so long ago. I was so young back then.
I had hair.
I actually tried to be good at drums. Just lying to myself that I think I'm getting better, but I'm not. I'm just saying the same after all the years. Oh wow! Hey James!
Wow.
Hey, do with the camera. You look like an idiot. He shouldn't have left the band. You know, Jason. I know this has nothing to do with Ozzy, but I'm still a bit mad that Jason left the band. Like, I look at him. At least we kicked Dave out. At least Dave was kicked out for a reason. Because he was kind of a jerk when he was yeah. Yeah, I kind of forgive you, Jason, but you left the best band in the world. Better than Ozzy.
Moving on.
Oh,
next up,
big news to some people. This is not a super big.
This is big news. This is big news to those who like this band in particular.
Yeah. This is a legendary band known as the.
We actually referenced them earlier in the video.
Yeah.
Or in this episode.
Yeah, during Ozzy stuff. The one and only Fear Factory.
Oh.
Right, so the news is Dino's. Oh, the dogs are excited too! Did they cover a song called like Dog Day Sunrise or something on their album?
Oh, that's one of my favorites. Factory, actually.
But it's just a cover.
I know. It's one of my favorites, though. I love that song.
I can't hear you because the dogs are barking.
Okay, well, why don't you quiet?
Aspen, Shelby, come here. Oh my lord, be quiet, you infernal machines. Ah! I'm just kidding. Aspen, hey,
Audience listening to this, you cannot see my face, but I am face palming so hard.
All right. So on Dino's Instagram,
Yes.
he's a dinosaur. That's amazing. You know,
So
you
great.
watch Dino Saucers?
What?
In the late 80s, there's a show called Dino Saucers. They were a bunch of alien dinosaurs. The villain was Genghis Rex.
We're just gonna stay, Pablo. Stay on topic.
So he posted this 3 days ago on September 2nd. He said on his Instagram, on the post, he says, "Today is September 2nd. It's my 54th birthday. I've been through a lot of I'm bleeping that out. You'll hear a terrible drum sound." It said, yeah.
Ooh, nice.
Through a lot of shit these past 4 years. I know! I said a bad word! Get over it, animal! Alright. Fear Factory lawsuits, parentheses, he says, I won. Bankruptcy lawsuit, I won. Huge illegal debt, I need help. Divorce, which he says wasn't easy. With help from my family and friends, I'm thriving and surviving. New Fear Factory music in 2020, and new Assassino music. That's another band that he's in. And yeah, that's what he says.
Wait 1 second before we go forward. Did he actually say new Fear Factory in 2020 or 2021?
2021. I said 21. Yeah, 2021. Which is still
okay. I just wanted to check because
we're nearing that time.
You said 2020, so I just wanted to clarify.
But
yeah, that's
exciting.
Very exciting. First off, happy belated birthday to Dino. Love your craft.
Hope you're listening.
You're very good. You're awesome.
You can officially sponsor us.
Not gonna happen, Pablo.
We're
sorry.
Unofficially sponsored by Dino. We're bringing you news from the new Fear Factory news. Not even Loudwire has talked about this. Come on, Loudwire, up your game. This is why we're better than Loudwire.
Oh, yes. So much better. Anyway, I am very excited. Well, because for a little backstory to how this whole went down. All the way back in, was it 2018? 2019?
2016 is when they stopped doing.
Well, I know that was when they last released something, but I know, but the vocalist Burton C. Bell said that they had an album all done.
Oh, that yes,
Monolith.
2018.
Was that was in 2018, and then Dino.
I don't know what you're talking about.
He's like, I don't know what you're talking about, which basically confirmed that it wasn't done.
I think they're both working on
legal
things.
battles.
I don't know how well they were working together because, as we know now, Burton C. Bell is working on releasing a new
Ascension of the Watchers
album.
Yeah, he hasn't released.
But I'm guessing he has things set aside for Fear Factory.
I mean, it makes sense. Like,
I mean, they've had all this time. They're probably ready to do something. They're probably ready with some things.
Like some Fear Factory? Oh, no doubt. I mean,
my guess is they probably started working on after Dino was like, he may have been like, oh, we're not working on anything. But then afterwards, he's like, hey, Burton, what if we start working on something now? And they're like, yeah, maybe. That's my guess.
I wouldn't be surprised if that whole thing with the new album was just nothing more than a miscommunication, and they sorted it out behind in the back rooms. They're like, oh, okay, let's start working on this or whatever, and start organizing it. But yeah, like regardless, Fear Factory fans have been dying to see some new material, and it was almost looking like we would never see this band release anything new again because of the messy legal entanglements they were in with their former bandmates.
Luckily, I've only been a real fan for less than a year. For me, I'm good. For some of you, people have been.
For me, I think it's around 2 years I've been a fan of this band.
Yeah, and I mean that's not long, but
yeah,
I'm very happy that I am into this amazing band. Number 9, they're number 9 on my top 10 best metal bands.
Yeah.
They might be right. They might be better than Metallica because I redid playlist for them, and I re-listened to a lot of their music, and I'm like, oh, there's these songs, and then I was like, ooh, and yeah, awesome.
But yeah, and one more thing is like I really hope that Dino's doing okay, because and I really hope that
Yeah.
that legal bills don't slay him, because that would be absolute an absolute atrocity upon mankind if like the legal battles were resolved only for him to be consumed by legal debt before he could do any new music. So much all good thoughts and good vibes sending to the Fear Factory parties. Keep safe, and can't wait to hear some new material from you guys.
So I have a theory of what could happen. So
oh yeah,
2021 is coming up. It's coming around the corner, and there's some cool things happening already. So, but if we do get new Fear Factory, maybe the middle of 2021 would be nice. But that's also the 25th anniversary. It's also an anniversary year for Demanufacture. What if they opened it up with because I know this year is the 25th anniversary, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, it's the 25th year.
What if they toured for the 25th, what if they retoured for it as an opening, as like back in 2021, and just said, because it's, I know it's this year, but it would be a cool thing to start with, like right before or right around before they release their new music, they just
do like a little promotional tour to celebrate
the Resurrection, which is a Fear Factory song.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think that's interesting because, well, I'm trying to think about it like this. If Dino confirmed that new Fear Factory was going to come out in 2021, that probably already means that he and Burton and all the other members are working on stuff right now as we speak while social distancing. I know Behemoth already slated themselves. I know Nurgle already slated Behemoth for a 2021 release. So we got that to look forward to as well.
Behemoth for your Fear Factory tour. Probably would never happen, but it would be cool.
That would be interesting. I know Behemoth had a little bit of an industrial influence on their first couple of black and death metal records, but then that they quickly flushed that out of their system with Demigod, but whatever. Anyways, so if I'm thinking about this correctly, and they're already making music, I wouldn't be surprised if they did like a spring summer 2021 release of their new record and then did a subsequent summer fall tour for that record.
And so that would be awesome.
It seems likely that might be what we get.
I would be down.
Have to wait and see. Oh, I'm down for anything.
Yeah, and then we could we'd go if they came to Portland.
Yeah.
And we'd get a fresh Burton Seabell with a freshed up voice. Because
like
was waning on him by the end of the
they toured. They tour a lot. Didn't they tour a lot for Nexus?
They almost did nonstop touring.
For a year.
For like years. No, for a long while. Like for I mean, they would get like a 2-month break and then go back to touring, but that's still.
Yeah.
Because I mean, they're not the biggest in the world, so it would make sense. It's like the band Pennywise.
Yeah.
When you're not, they haven't not constantly toured since basically COVID, and the lead singer ended up leaving the band for about 3 or 4 years because he was like, my kids are growing up, I want to be a dad, but I don't feel like I am right now, so he left for like 4 years before returning. Because I mean, there's members of Pennywise as they've done this since they were like, maybe some of them in their teens. And some of them haven't even had a girlfriend at any point in their lives. They have no time.
I can relate to that to some degree. God, I feel like I'll never be in a romantic relationship. But that's
a thing for another video, for another episode.
How sad our love lives are. They're so empty and shallow and
But when Fear Factory
lacking
comes
of
out with
meaning.
when Fear Factory comes out with new music, I don't need any relationships.
Woo!
Just hear the screaming voice of Burton C. Bell. Screaming.
Yeah,
New music.
and singing.
Fear Factory self-titled album. I don't know.
They haven't done a self-titled album. That could definitely be possible.
Or they could go
Or they
back
could-
to Monolith.
Monolith.
which,
Yeah.
it's a fine. There's an Amoebix album called Monolith.
Oh.
Pretty good. Yeah. All right.
Well, anyway, so that concludes all of our news topics.
And now it's
for
time
today.
for the most important part of the entire
this is
episode.
the best. This part right here is the best.
You all
love
know
it.
what's happening?
Oh yeah.
You just said it. Yeah!
It's the yeah segment.
Yeah!
Yeah.
We need more yeah people. We don't need just James Hetfield. Sorry, James, but we need more
I mean,
than yeah.
could we just start with this episode? You just start peppering people with just
Yeah.
like a whole array of yads.
Yeah. We got Corey Taylor and All Hope Is Gone and All Hope Is Gone. Inside and I almost said the other psycho thing.
Oh God, no. Thomas, we dare not speak about that. You just introduced me to that band, and I never want to hear from
No
you
one
again.
wants to hear that ever again.
No.
It was social. Yeah, and then we have Before I Forget, where he does the whole string of yas.
And then we have, as Exhibit C, Lane Staley of Alice in Chains saying yeah in their song Love, Hate, Love.
Woo! Yeah.
Exhibit D, we have any single Rob Zombie song ever.
It's kind of like
He
Metallica.
says yeah.
Kind of like Metallica, except
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. All right.
All right.
Matt,
So what's
don't
on the
have some
docket
yas. I've heard.
What's on the docket for the yeah segment today, Pavlos?
We're
I know
going.
this comes from someone you know, right? This was
On our
was
comments, dude, I know. His
Yeah.
name's Judah. If you're listening to this, shout out to you. I know.
Yeah, please. Thank you.
He basically said y'all should talk about non-metal bands that you like, and we're sort of doing a top 10. George is doing a top 10. I'm listing 10 out. We'll do the same thing like we did before, except
Yeah.
when we get to our
Hopefully
fourth.
we'll make this faster.
We'll get because there's more. I'm not saying that we love these bands that we're listing. They're important to
Oh yeah, absolutely.
bands / artists.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Because there's a few.
Corey
there's a few for
Taylor's
me.
solo career.
Yeah.
And there'll be probably some bands that are in the gray area between metal and non-metal.
Yeah.
Like I guess Nirvana.
Mine.
Sort of,
Well, actually, when I was making this list of mine, I was surprised that like all of the non-metal bands that I actually could fit. Like I have like a good mixture of electronic, like straight up like straight up like rock, and even some like pop alternative. So I was actually quite proud of.
All right, let's do this.
Anyway, so
start off with George.
Me?
Yeah, number 10.
Oh, okay. Number 10 is this pop alternative band called Fitz and the Tantrums. This was a band that I discovered pretty early when I was listening to music. They have songs like The Walker and Out of My League that people might know. Also Hand Clap is another popular one by them. And I mean, I'm not, again, like I've moved on to be primarily a metal dude, but these guys are just fun. These guys are just like straight up fun, really cool pop alternative. Me and my sister both love these guys a lot. And I've actually seen these guys live. I saw them at the Portland Zoo, and they were a lot of fun to see. So number 10 goes to Fitz and the Tantrums.
All right. So for me, if I did a top 10 list of non-metal, they would all be punk bands. So I'm going to choose my first 5 to be non-punk. And this is in no particular. These are just 5.
Just 10.
10
just
awesome
names.
I'm not super prepared, so I'm just gonna go off because I probably could list most of all of them on my honorable mentions list. I could list most of the artists, but I'm gonna start this off with a band I've been listening to a lot recently, Dire Straits.
We are the Sultans of Swing.
They, the creation of one of the Mark Knopfler might be arguably the greatest guitarist to ever live. Because you might not sound hard, but with the way that he does because it's not about that. It's more about how he turns his finger, how he moves his hand, like. And if you try and pretend to do it the way he does it, it's like, oh, how do you do that? It's like, it's like frustrating. And they have some excellent song. Brothers in Arms is the album itself is amazing. The song is fantastic. They have a great song featuring Sting called "Money for Nothing," and it's.
I think this is the only Dire Straits song I actually like. I was like, oh, this is lovely.
It's like it's about installing microwave ovens. The main course is. We got to install microwave ovens, custom kitchen delivery, and we got to install microwave ovens. We get like Sting in there, and it's so cool. It's
and don't they reference MTV in the title?
Yeah. I want my MTV, and there's a part where it was
I think that's
and it sounds like the thing that he does in Roxanne.
Oh, and I think also that part that we're referencing with MTV, it's a reference to "Don't Stand So Close to Me," the Police song. Yeah. So
good song.
That's clever.
Great band. I like that band a lot. They may not be my all-time favorite non-metal band, but because most of these are hard for me to list, so I'm just giving out some of my the ones I've been listening to recently. All right, what's your number 9, George? 9's a German number.
9.
Well, not a German number. That's not even a number. Wait.
It's just no. It's just
Eins, zwei. Oh, whatever. I don't care.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Yeah, number 9. This one, it's number 9's Imagine Dragons. This was a band. This was one of the first bands that I started. That started my introduction to listening to music. My first experiences with listening to music were this, and it was during winter break, and it went as follows. It was Imagine Dragons' Night Visions, Foo Fighters' Greatest Hits, and some songs from Sonic Highways, and Phil Phillips's The Dark Side of the Moon album. Those were my beginnings. My beginnings as like liking music and listening to it. And I think there's a lot of stigma nowadays surrounding Imagine Dragons. They've definitely taken into a more
they're not
lighthearted direction with their sound.
They're not bad. I wouldn't call it so for that genre. Okay, here's something I don't agree with Corey Taylor on. Nickelback passed the torch to Imagine Dragons. No. By any means. I'm sorry, Corey Taylor. Go away. That's the one thing I will argue. Imagine Dragons, though it's simple, they're original. They have, sure, I don't like the way their music has evolved.
Yeah.
Like, my favorite album is the one that's their least popular, Smoke and Mirrors, which is the one I saw them perform live. Most of the album, they just played their hits.
Really?
They played the hits from Night Visions, and then most of Smoke and Mirrors, and that was a very fun concert.
Yeah, and something that I want to note about Imagine Dragons and Fitz of the Tantrums here is a lot of these I don't like the entire album for. Like I'll have some of the songs or most of an album, and that will be available, and I'll choose not to have some. But I gotta admit, Imagine Dragons, beyond just being like one of the first bands I started listening to, their album Smoke and Mirrors was one of the more important ones of my development as into adolescence. I remember that was an album that I would just sit and listen to on shuffle a lot. I think I listened to that album a lot. It was very, I don't know. I think it was very meaningful for me at the time. And I think as much as they get stigmatized, Imagine Dragons definitely played a role in my journey as a music fan, and they deserve to be acknowledged. So number 9 is Imagine Dragons.
All right, Imagine Dragons. Nice pick. All right. Number 9 for me, I'm going to go with Billy Joel. Most know him by Piano Man. When I think of Billy Joel, I think of his song, which isn't even on his Greatest Hits album, The Stranger. Lyrically, he is really good at putting you into whatever city he's talking about. He's just, there's something, there's no other artist, maybe, there's not many artists who can do what he has done through his solo career. And you have pop rock, you have pop songs, like, I don't even know which one to choose. Wow, he just, like, Uptown Girl. You have pop songs like Uptown Girl. But then you have jazzier tunes like Piano Man, which isn't even... Okay, the song Vienna is pure jazz and pure, like, lounge. He's with a little bit of... he does this weird, almost growl, like a Chester Bennington. You know how Chester Bennington growls but sings at the same time? He'll do that on some of his songs. He'll even do that on, like, he has this fantastic song called Goodnight Saigon. He has, like, this growl thing where he's, like, it's not a death growl, but it's, like, but, yeah, he's a musical genius. Only had, like, 12 or 13 albums because in 1990, in the 90s, he released his last album in the 94, and he said that, and it was his 12th or 13th album, and he said, well, the Beatles have like 12 albums, so I guess I'll just stop here because I just feel like I've given my part to music and stuff, and I'm just gonna tour for the rest of my life.
Oh, that's lovely.
But yeah, number 9, Billy Joel.
Woo! Nice.
What's your number 8? My
number 8, Rick. My number 8 is
Metallica.
It's a band called Led Zeppelin. No, I'm kidding. My number 8 is Led Zeppelin. I'm gonna give you my love. Now, I want to emphasize this for anyone who thinks this. Led Zeppelin is not a metal band. They are a rock band that was very crucial to the start of heavy metal. But they are not a metal band in and of itself. Now, with that out of the way, I will now talk about Led Zeppelin. Now, this is a band, and my dad loves this band. Like, they're one of his top 4 bands that he loves.
So they're like Behemoth to him, but you're Behemoth.
Basically, it's his 4 cornerstone bands are Led Zeppelin, Dave Matthews Band, The Grateful Dead, and U2. Those are kind of his cornerstones in
Awesome.
terms for bands. And I mean, the thing about Led Zeppelin that's amazing is their reach, like in terms of musical styles. Like they can rope in the Metalheads with songs like Whole Lotta Love and Dazed and Confused and even like Black
Dazed
Dog.
and Confused.
Robert Plant. I mean, that's basically what Robert Plant.
Plant Robert. I'm just kidding. I just call him Plant
Stop
Robert.
it! Stop it! What are you doing? But then they also can do like this folk acoustic thing with like the Battle of Evermore, and even like Going to California, stuff like that. And then they can just write like straight up like rock epics like Stairway to Heaven, and the infamously recorded When the Levee Breaks, with its echoey drums and all. They're as well as like Kashmir as well. So it's
great song. I love Kashmir.
So yeah, I know, right? So the thing about Led Zeppelin is like I don't have a ton of their records as of right now, but they're a band that you can just enjoy, and they're so easy to enjoy their stuff, and they have done so much to the development of rock and even heavy metal. It's not even funny. So and also you gotta love them John Bonham drum skills, them Jimmy Page guitar licks, and those Robert Plant screams, and
oh yeah, you're right.
Oh god, we massacred it. John Paul Jones, he's there too, doing bass.
He's there.
He's there.
Hi, John. It's like it's like the Beatles when they're with what was their drummer's name?
Ringo Starr.
Yeah, they were like, I wrote a song for you guys. Oh, that's okay. We'll take a picture of it and we'll put it on our pockets and we'll look at it every morning and say, oh, what a great song he wrote. Too bad it will never be released. Okay, bye, Ringo.
Anyway, number 8, Led Zeppelin.
Yeah.
Yay.
But I will say, this is probably one of the most honorary things ever, but before Elvis Presley died, he got to tell every band member in person that he thought that Stairway to Heaven was one of the greatest songs he's ever heard.
Oh, that's awesome.
It's like to them at that point. It's like if Ozzy Osbourne came up to Corey Taylor and said, "Can I be number 9?"
Yeah.
Guys, or Elvis goes, "Can I be in place of Robert Plant?" And Robert Plant's like, "What? This is my band." Nope, not anymore.
This is my band.
All right, we'll go with 8. 8.
Yeah, it's your turn.
My number 8 spot is all right. We'll go with the one and only Coldplay.
From the top of the first page.
What a band.
I love just about everything they've ever released. I know people love their most recent record. I thought it was a bit iffy. But
the double album.
Yeah, Everyday Life was okay. But my favorite records, and these are kind of random, are actually X and Y and then A Head Full of Dreams. I just loved the overwhelming positivity he threw into A Head Full of Dreams. Because, well, Ghost Stories is the before he wrote Chris Martin worked on Ghost Stories. He had gone through a divorce, and it's a very sad album and how he felt at the time. So he wrote his saddest record, but then directly afterwards he immediately went on to Happy Times because he was. I'm gonna guess that because they got divorced, that the marriage kind of was after the marriage. He was like, okay, I can not be as stressed, or my problem, or
sure.
And so he was like. He just wrote his immediately because he was, I guess, in a very happy spot. So he just wrote as much put it all his positivity into an album, and you get Head Full of Dreams. But
Yeah.
my favorite record is X and Y,
Uh-huh.
that album, and it's
Yeah.
it's the perfect mesh in between what they would become and what their indie rock
Yeah.
is. And I mean, Viva La Vida is a great album too. The song, it's one of those songs that's famous, but it's got a good reason for being famous, because it just pulls you in with those that violin intro, and it's like,
You could also say like it's one of the most infamous for being a song that everybody knows, but no one knows the correct name of it, because the title is not said in the song, I don't believe, right?
yeah,
Yeah. So
they're a magical band.
yeah, for sure.
All right, what's your number 7?
Number 7. This one goes to a little calm alternative indie rock band from Seattle, and you might know of these guys. They're called Death Cab for Cutie.
How could something so fair be so cruel?
Wow, I was almost gonna put them at number 10. I was really doing that. Awesome, man.
Yeah, so this is a band that my aunt simply adores. She loves these guys, and I remember the first time I listened to Soul Meets Body and Black Sun. Those were my 2 introductions to the band, Black Sun and Soul Meets Body, and they were both
Black Sun.
Yeah,
that was off of Kintsugi.
Yeah, and that album, I remember
when it came out.
When I was starting to become aware of liking music and wanting to be around music.
Yeah,
that song was still big on the radio, like, because
that and Ghosts on Beverly Drive were played constantly.
Yes, those were the 2 radio hits for that record.
Yeah,
and as a result, Kintsugi is one of my favorites by these guys. Now, I'm gonna say that I don't like the albums. I don't like a lot of their albums in their entirety. The only 2 that I really love and adore, like from start to finish, are Kintsugi and strangely Transatlanticism.
That's also, those are Transatlanticism's arguably that and Plans are their 2 most successful, based on the fan base, favorite albums.
Yeah, I mean,
the title track, so good.
Of Transatlanticism.
Yeah, the little guitar that they just throw. It's such a simple song.
Yeah, but it builds, and it builds so brilliantly. And also the song before it, Tiny Vessels, is such a heartbreaking song, but it has that rockin' section in the middle, and it just
a slower album
so
too.
Good.
It's slower. It's a slower album as well.
Yeah, it's a lot. Also, We Look Like Giants is another awesome song off that record that I love. But yeah, like, nothing against Plans or
I love
narrow stairs, narrow stairways. I liked I Will Possess Your Heart and stuff. And Codes and Keys was all right too. There's a few good songs off of that, but mainly, like, my love for that band stems from like them spitting out Kintsugi and Transatlanticism. Those 2 albums I cherish with all of my heart. So yeah, number 7.
This is a weird. So about Death Cab for Cutie, I remember they were one of the bands that I grew up listening to a lot, like only specific bands. And my favorite song, I only got back into them a couple years ago when they released. They released their most recent album is called Thank You for Today. It's pretty good. It's got some solid songs. It's got a couple.
Gold Rush is not bad.
Yeah. Or Northern Lights is good.
I'm gonna admit I haven't listened to it. I only know of Gold Rush and I think of one other song. Because truth be told, I feel satisfied just sticking with where I am right now in terms of my collection. But
you might come back. You might go to it sometime.
Yeah, maybe. I'd definitely go to a show. I'd love to go.
I would. Yeah, they
that'd be fun.
quite a bit when they tour, because Seattle, and they're near here.
Yeah, great
Their
Northwest.
song, the song that stuck in my head the most from my childhood was actually "Marching Bands in Manhattan."
Oh, that's a good
Huge
one.
song. It's not one of their biggest songs for some reason. I was
It's a
always
cool
surprised.
opener.
They don't play it a lot. They're one of the bands that has a rotate. That's a they don't they choose songs. They go through, it's like Metallica. When Metallica tours, they have these songs that they will play, and then they have a certain songs that they might add or throw in.
Yeah, and then they have like do a spinning roulette.
That's a
and
good thing
they
that
change
Lars
the
Ulrich has done, because he thinks he likes throwing on a couple random songs per show.
Oh, that's great. I always love that attitude as well. I
Yeah.
mean, nothing against a band just having a set list and then sticking to it, because that's easier. Like when
Tool.
you're on tour, and it allows you to just kind of be like, okay, I could stick to something. But for the people that love going to multiple dates, this is the reason why my parents caravan to go see Dave Matthews Band like several days straight when he does a show up in the Gorge or some other location in the Great Northwest, is because Dave Matthews Band also changes their set lists greatly. So
Yeah.
you know,
But
it's what it is.
I like Death Cab for Cutie. They're not on the list.
Yeah.
But that's just because I listen to. They're probably on the honorable mentions. But 6. I'm gonna go with U2. The band that surrounded my childhood.
Or would this be your 7? Sorry, because
or 7. Oh, 7.
Yeah.
I have extra. Oh wow. I miscounted. This is good. We'll go U2.
Okay.
Because I said them. This is a band that surrounded my childhood. The first album I remember, if I go back to the beginning, and the first album I've ever listened to, it was in the car. We listened to How to Dismantle an Atomic Bomb. I just remember hearing a track.
Oh.
Like City of Blinding Light. That's why it's my favorite
Oh.
song. It's the first song I can think of that I was listening to in my life.
City of Blinding. That's a good one.
Yeah, like I remember sitting in my mom's Subaru, and there's a cassette player. I remember a cassette player.
Cassettes.
Or I think it also had a CD player. We had the CD. I have it still. We still have our CD.
Yeah.
And we were listening to that album, and I was like, I just remember that out. Musically, it's the first thing I remember.
Yeah.
Even though I've been listening to music since I was born. I used to sing Johnny Cash lyrics in a room. I would sing "I Shot a Man in Reno" just to watch him die in the middle of a. And my mom's like, "We might need to switch up the music," because they would stare at my mom and go, "What the heck is wrong with you, woman?" And I'm like, I didn't care. That was the good old days.
So you're a kid. Yeah. That's what it is.
But I could talk about U2 for a long time, and they're just. I've seen them twice. They're fantastic. They might be one of the best live performances I've ever seen.
Mm-hmm.
And they're just, even if you're not a fan, it's like we went with my cousin, and he was like, he didn't know any music, but was like, it's so entertaining. And Bono's being Bono. We need to do this. I love America. I'm Irish, but I'm the most. I didn't know he was Irish until like 2011, and I was like,
what?
I was weird. Okay.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, U2
All right.
number 7.
Sweet. Nice. I will hide that detail from our audience. That shall not be spoken of. My number 6 is another band from the Great Northwest that was served as an inspiration for Death Cab for Cutie. And this is a band that everyone might know of. It's a little band called Nirvana. And I remember this was my first introduction to. Let me think. Well, actually, I started listening to Metallica. I got introduced to Metallica's Enter Sandman before I started listening to Nirvana, or maybe it was around the same time. I can't remember. but they were again a pretty big push in like liking more aggressive rock
Yeah.
than I was used to, and
Same.
even though like I don't listen to them as much nowadays, I still love their music, and they're still very important to me as a band. I mean, what else can I say? It's Nirvana.
It's Nirvana.
It's Nirvana.
Nirvana. I like Nirvana.
You actually, you're that actually wasn't far off from Kurt Cobain singing Nirvana in the song Paper Cuts. That's the chorus of the song Paper Cuts from their album Bleach. He goes, Nirvana. Nirvana.
All right. Well,
Anyway,
I'm gonna say one. Nirvana is. I wanted to put them on my list. Them and Death Cab were up there because I still love them, but I'm gonna say "Smells Like Teen Spirit" is in my life the most important song to me because in my life, I remember hearing that for the first time and I watched the music video with it. And I watched it 10 times in a row because I never heard anything like it. I remember hearing the for the first time, and I was like, "What?" And then I heard Metallica a couple weeks later, and then I think "Smells Like Teen Spirit" started my journey. And I heard "Come As You Are" the same day because
nice
music. And then I went to like Polly, and then I went into Polly, and I was like, "What is this? This is weird."
That was maybe a bad.
And then I heard "Breed," and I was like, "Okay."
Oh yeah.
And then, I don't know why, it was a playlist, and then School came on, and I was like,
School.
And at the time, I was like, what is this? I'm confused. And then I heard Enter Sandman, and I'm going off, But I like Nirvana. They're not my number 6. My number 6 is going to be, this band was a punk band. They became something else, so they're not punk anymore, but they were. Green Day. When I remember my cousin listening to them. When he's a few years older than I am. I think he had the American Idiot CD. He had I didn't know, I knew Boulevard of Broken Dreams, and I heard the song, but I didn't know who it was for years. I just remember the I remember that chant.
Yeah.
Or the chorus of the song in my head, but I could never find out what it was. Mm-hmm. And at the time, my mom wasn't a huge fan of the band because my uncle overplayed them in the 90s when Dookie came out. He loves Dookie a lot. That's one of his favorite albums ever made. He's not super into what they became, but he still likes the old school Green Day. Dookie's great. American Idiot's great. They have one of my favorites, kind of funny album covers ever of Nimrod, which is two people's faces and it says Nimrod over their faces. And
for
that album too.
You do.
And I like Green Day a lot. They're fantastic. I want to see them live. Their most recent album made me kind of dislike them a little bit. It just wasn't Green Day enough. Like even the album before had that American Idiot-y, had that American Idiot sound in it.
Radio Revolution.
I think it's called Revolution Radio. One of those.
Yeah, something like that.
I liked it, but.
And I remember they were all the chatter in Portland because they were coming to Moda, I think. Yeah, and for that tour.
I want to see them someday, and I hope
I'd go with you. They're
punks in a non-punk band, basically. It's like Foo Fighters. Well, Dave Grohl specifically is a punk in a non-punk band.
Yeah.
But then again, he's in everything. He's everything. He likes country. He likes freaking metal. He likes everything.
Yeah.
He was in Nirvana and.
Yeah.
Green Day, awesome band. That's my number 6.
So,
It's your number 5, George.
funny enough, my number 5 was your number 8. It's Coldplay. Now,
Awesome.
I remember I first started with I remember distinctly remembering really liking Paradise and starting off with that. But it wasn't until super recently that I started bolstering my collection. I mean, like I picked up a copy. My dad had, for whatever reason, my dad had a loaned copy of Coldplay's of Rush of Blood to the Head. So
Okay.
I managed to get a hold of that.
Good.
Great. I remember that was one of the albums before I really got super deep into metal. That was the one that I listened to a lot.
In My Place, Scientist.
Clocks.
Awesome song. Yeah, Clocks is probably the biggest song off the album.
That
Put
or
a Smile Upon Face is pretty good. Is good.
Put a Smile. Yeah, I love that song. The title track's really cool. Amsterdam's a really heartfelt closer about talking about somebody saving someone from committing suicide.
The opposite of that one Phil Collins song called "In the Air Tonight," where it's about a guy where Phil Collins saw a man drowning, and then he decided to write a song about how he felt, and then who he wrote the song about showed up at a show. He saw him at a show or something.
That's first off, I love that. Here's a brief side tangent. I love that song. That song is great.
Mm-hmm.
It was covered by In This Moment, the metal band that I told you about.
That's
and it's a really good cover. You should check it out.
Is it better than the original?
It's different. Let's just say that. Like
it's like Disturbed Simon and Garfunkel cover. It's
like you can't. A cover can never be better than the original.
Five Finger Death Punch. They're the only band that I would say has done that.
Really? For me,
they covered Gone Away, and they did like a sadder version. But I like the Offsprings, but I love the Five Finger Death Punch.
Mm-hmm. Okay. But that song, I bet we could do a whole mini podcast episode on what that song is.
Segment!
That song is so legendary for like the mysterious air surrounding what the lyrics were based upon and its potentially criminal involved origins, but it's a super cool song and I love it. But back to what I was saying before, Coldplay. So yeah, I started off with like Paradise and A Rush of Blood to the Head, and those were great records. But it wasn't until actually this summer when I started getting a bunch of their stuff. I got a copy of Parachutes. I eventually got a copy of X and Y, which is a fantastic record. Parachutes also is a fantastic record. And then I got digital copies of the rest of Milo Xylo. So I got Paradise and the rest of the songs from there from you, as well as the entirety of A Head Full of Dreams, which is also a really fun record. I gave that record a second listen. It's just here's the thing. Being a metalhead, it's hard to find metalhead friends. But when you're with friends or family that like don't listen to metal, that's just a great album to throw on and everyone could party to it. It's so fun. It's such a fun, like happy record.
And for the weekend.
It's entertaining. I love it.
Dreams. Birds.
But yeah,
really good.
Coldplay, I really like.
It's funny too, because whenever they feature an artist that I don't like, the song is somehow better. Because I realize, wow, this person has a good voice.
Right, you could disassociate. I know the song "Fun" featured the I think
Tove
the Swedish vocalist Tove Lo. Yeah,
and she has a really good voice.
Oh, her voice is really good.
And on Princess of
Rihanna.
Yeah, she has
China. Yeah,
she has a good voice. I like it when she was featured on some Eminem songs, and they were. Nice. She has a good. I think I like the pop singers, but fused with other things.
Yeah,
it's like rap. I like rap with other genres, and not just.
Yeah, like mainly, like I get what you're saying. Like the combination effect. But yeah, so Coldplay, I just like their evolution. I mean, primarily, I think my favorite records are their first three, but certainly nothing against their later stuff like Milo Xylo and Head Full of Dreams.
Yeah.
And they're just, yeah, I don't know. That's all I could say. Chris Martin's got a lovely voice, and
you could definitely feel what how he
You-
feels.
Fix You is notorious for bringing me to tears basically every time I listen.
Oh, the dogs are angry because you said something about crying, George.
I dare invoke it the name of Fix You, and it's enraged the beast. But yeah.
Yeah, they're crazy.
I love that.
Hey! Shut it! Aspen, get off the couch. Oh my lord, you're crazy. She's like jumping all over the place, like. Alright, well,
You're that one guy.
I'm gonna give you some fun facts about random things.
Did you know
movie,
the brain weighs 8 pounds?
There's this movie called
I don't know if that's even that.
What? There's this movie called Braveheart, starring Mel Gibson. Yeah, and it took like only like 10 weeks to record or something.
Really?
Yeah, something like that.
Wow. That's
Shut
ridiculous.
up, dog. Okay. Do you think in another universe there's a guy named Lem Bigson? An evil version who makes movies in like longer period. But he has no controversy too.
Right. Yeah. He doesn't have anti-Semitic ties.
Yeah. Or
Yeah.
Sean Connery. There's a Connery, but he's not a jerk. Like Sean Connery might be the biggest jerk in acting.
He might be. There's a lot of them out there.
He's so mean. Like this interview, he's like, "Oh, I'm better than you. I'm better than you. I'm Sean Connery. Let me tell you about what I do for a living."
Just listen to my accent.
He thinks he's okay to like hit a woman, and he's so
yeah.
jerk.
Yeah, I remember seeing that. I'm like, what? What the?
It is okay to hit a woman under certain circumstances, and I'm like, it's so
like, dude.
fun at him though.
Anyway,
So-
what's your number 5?
Indiana Jones Jr. He's a good.
I love him in that
Oh my
movie.
lord, he's a garbage human being. All right, number 5.
Yeah.
Number 5.
Yeah, because I did
The one and only Eminem.
And broke his nose. His house is a broken home. There's no control. He just lets his emotions go.
Arguably the greatest.
Love spaghetti.
He actually might be the most creative lyricist of all time. He is. The way like he'll make all these references, like he did in this one song he did. He's like, "I'm the Iggy Pop of hip hop," and like he starts like I can't even fathom to understand how he writes music. He was kind of, it's like when I was enlightened on black metal. I believe that rap was a genre that could never be loved, that it was a piece of garbage. No one, go away, I hate you type of genre. And then I heard Eminem Lose Yourself, and I was like, this is the coolest thing in the world. And then I started listening to his albums, and to this day, I think one of my all-time favorite albums is his album, The Eminem Show. It's so cool. The song Square Dance is awesome. The song Rap God off of his later stuff, which is really cool. It's he's so mind-boggling. And even his album, he had this song featuring Ed Sheeran called River, and Ed Sheeran's vocals in the beginning add so much power. But the album that he released, the album itself that it's on, it's not. To the fans, it's pretty bad. It was not well received. I thought it was great. I give appreciation to everything he's ever recorded. Okay, his first album's not that great. It's okay. It's like, I did this and this and this. I cut this person and I stabbed this person and I shot this person on the street.
What?
Child died over there. Yeah, I do drugs too. You should do it too. Woo! That's basically the album. It's cool, but it got repetitive. And there's like 2 good songs off of it too, and then actually he had this album, another album called Relapse, which was during his that album took 5 years to release because it was about how what he went through in his psychologically during his time when he was getting clean of drugs, and it's not that great of an album. It's probably even worse than his first album. It's pretty bad. He has one good song called 3 a.m. off of it, which is where he got tendencies where there's a monster inside you and you just have an addiction to killing people and you just don't even realize it. Yeah. And then he released his album Recovery a year later. It's weird. He'll take all this time to release an album and then it sucks. And then to the fans, to most of the world, it sucks. And then a year later, he just comes out anew with a new person.
I think that might be because just that style of music, in order to be well received, it has to be pretty quick.
And that's
the
why
release date has to be quick. Like with Tool, they can take 13 years to make a record, and it still can kind of work because their style of music takes a lot of thought, and their fans have such a devout loyalty to their stuff that they can afford to take time. Eminem might not necessarily have that luxury with his fan base.
Yeah. But I think I don't like rap. I think it's the way that he uses, like he's aggressive, like and he's like really angry about when he says
it's not like lazy rapping like that dominates the majority of today's airwaves.
Yeah.
It's like,
and I am learning to enjoy some other rappers. Like he's featured other rappers, and rappers that I like it when he features them. Like I'm learning to enjoy certain rap. I think it's going to be a growing process for me. It's like metal. Metal is a growing process when you're a metalhead, and you try and delve deeper, even though you first might not like it. Like black metal, most people who go through metal don't try and venture there because their first listens, But I always keep trying again and again, which is something I do. I'm trying to stop that because it's getting overwhelming. It's finally getting overwhelming.
Really?
That's
amazing. I never thought I'd hear you say those words.
The metal is black metal, especially when I think of that.
Okay, yeah,
I like it,
and then you were just getting boatloads of CDs from the library, and I'm like, how can you handle all of this?
Yeah, but well, I think it's because I'm trying to force myself to like black metal, but I don't.
Maybe just stop. Like
I found my three.
You like Watain, you like Maglaw.
Watain's okay.
You like Maglaw, and
I like the 2 Dissection albums.
And
I like
Wolves in the Throne Room.
They're okay. I like Magua, Batushka. Batushka may have released the greatest album ever made, Liturgia, in my opinion. For me, I love that record. Just listen
to Ozzy, and you can.
But
I think you'd like them a lot. I think you gotta give them a try.
And then I wouldn't say I love Dissection, but they have 2 great albums, and then the lead vocalist just basically went crazy after the first 2 records, and went.
Pablos.
Yeah,
I must say, it's funny how we were doing so well, not talking about metal for extensive period of time with these non-metal artists, and yet we somehow got wrapped back up into it.
Well, yeah, I mean, I go on tangent.
That's what it is, right?
All right, so was that number 5? Number 6. That was number 6. All right.
That was number 5. That was number 5. My number 5 was Coldplay.
Ah, shoot! I messed this up. All right, I'm doing 11. Shift everything back.
You can just have one of them be an honorable mention. Come on.
Yes. You know what? Screw it. We're doing it. I don't care. Let's keep going.
My number 4 is the Police. Sting's band with Stuart Copeland and Andy Summers.
Sting. He did the Desert Rose song.
Yeah, he did that Desert Rose.
And he was
song.
in that Dire Straits song that I like. Yeah.
He's also in like
The Police.
He's also in the Police. Yeah, I got really into these guys. The winter of my senior year in high school, and
Interesting.
because I wanted to get into them for a very long time, and I'm like, you know what, going head first, like I like
Uncharted
Walking on the
territory.
Moon, I like Roxanne, I like Message in a Bottle, I like Every Breath You Take. Let's just go for it. And so I asked for copies of Brigada de Blanc, Zenyatta Mandata, and Synchronicity.
Gotta love those
Those
album
are-
names.
I know, they're great, right? Those are the 3 albums that I think get constantly praised the most. Synchronicity in particular as well. And I loved it. I loved all of it. And then later
Awesome.
I nabbed a copy. I scanned it in. I scanned in the copy of Outlandos D'Amore, their debut album, which is also really good. And then I also scanned in their double CD live album, which features 2 concerts that they did in different periods of the band, or different periods when they were still a band. And I mean, as a drummer, I worship Stuart Copeland. That guy is nuts on the drum kit. So good. I love what he does on the drum kit.
Yeah.
And Sting's a great vocalist. Really cool. Really, if you want to talk about good lyricists, he's definitely up there. He's got a lot of cool.
Yes.
cool
Even on his
lyrics
solo
and-
career, even in his solo career, it shows like,
Yeah.
wow, he's cool. He's a cool dude.
Yeah. For sure. He's also ancient. He's like 70 years old.
But he doesn't. He looks good for 70.
Well, I think he's on some crazy health diet regimen. So,
Yeah, he seems like a fit dude.
I mean, who knows? By the time, like the people that we are talking, by the time that like our metal heroes that are in their 40s become 70, we'll probably already invent like a cure for wrinkled skin, and no one's gonna. And no
That
one's
seems
gonna
weird,
look,
though.
I know,
Well-
but I'm just.
Yeah, so then we
all
don't have to look at the
science
Rolling
fiction.
Stones looking all moldy up there. Going, I mean, at least Kiss doesn't look like they're old. Like they can still look.
Well, they use a lot of makeup.
Yeah, that's what's cool about those bands. Or I mean, Slipknot also has the chance to do that, and a lot of black metal bands that do, or any masked band has the chance to
Yeah.
do their career.
Yeah. Anyway, number 4.
How did we go from the Police to Kiss to like bands? Whatever.
Hey, it is what it is, right? But yeah, number 4, the Police.
Oh, me. So I'm gonna go with my 4 favorite punk bands. I'm sad to say that I forgot that I didn't even notice what we were on. But yeah, so these are probably my top 4 favorite bands in general.
Yeah.
I would have said my 5th favorite band. Okay, I'm not gonna talk too much about them because I already talked about another band. My 5th favorite band is probably this band called Rancid. They're awesome. They have a unique style of punk with ska. I don't really, in a weird country-esque feel too. Anything else you want to say about them, George?
Rancid?
From what you've listened to from them?
I like one song. It's called Salvation, and it's
You and me, show me what you got. Salvation. Whoa. Come on, baby. And Tim Armstrong's a genius. He helped with Green Day and stuff.
Oh,
Very.
Cool.
He was also the lead singer of. He was part of Operation Ivy.
I'm not familiar with that group.
They're like a classic punk band. But all right, they were
nice.
number 5th. But so early, yeah, they're sort of on the list. I just wanted to say them before I got into this. Number 4, I'm gonna go with the good, the bad, and the leftover crack.
If we ever today, we're born today.
Yeah.
Featuring the great SZA, Scott Sturgeon. He sometimes goes by Crack Daddy.
Yeah.
The Doctor, Dr. Crack. What can I say about this band? He was basically choking. I would say choking victim, but they're the same thing basically.
Mm-hmm.
It's like how we were saying Power Trip can change. That's in it. Can just change. That's basically what happened with Leftover Crack, except different. Same.
It's like Lamb of God with Burn the Priest, right?
Yeah.
It's like the same band, but
very like one different band.
One different member.
Mediocre Generica. They have only 3 albums. They took forever to release Constructs of the State, but their first album, Mediocre Generica, it was supposed to be called Shoot the Kids at School, and had some very controversial. And this was on Tim Armstrong's record label, Hellcat Records, and he didn't want to release it like that, so he had it be called Mediocre Generica. Which they what they did with this album is they put themselves into kind of the villainous, like as if they were anti. They would put 2 sides. They would show the side of I'm anti this or I'm anti LGBTQ rights, stuff like that. And then they would show the view of the LGBTQ. Like they have a very that
song.
Yeah.
That song.
Gay Rude Boys Unite. The album itself, it's very good. It's a solid album, and they do a good job. The production isn't amazing, but they kind of use it to their advantage in a way. It's
yeah.
And they have like a little. They'll sometimes have they'll go from really heavy like a metal feel. They go straight to a weird ska, and then just a normal. Such uniqueness, and even though SZA doesn't have a great voice, but with what he does with this record, with that album, he does a great job. Then they had F World Trade. You can probably guess what the F stands for.
We could just bleep it out. There you go.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah. Really good record. It might be even better. This was released on Fat Wreck, I want to say, I believe. So this was released on Fat Mike's. Of the vinyl releases were, I believe, on, or the CD, one of the 2 were released on Fat Mike's record label, and then the other ones were on Jello Biafra's. The vinyl, or the other side was Jello Biafra from Dead Kennedy's record label. And basically the same thing as Mediocre Generica, except different. It had more of a, they were more easy to listen to.
Anti-establishment.
Yeah, and I mean, the album cover had 9/11 with. It was a weird, and then I do it like at a gas station.
Yeah,
and it's a weird.
I must say, there are times where I was absolutely in love with this band, and then there were parts where I'm like, I don't get.
Like Soon We'll Be Dead. Like Soon We'll Be Dead.
Well, the one song, I can't remember the name of the punk band, but the vocalist was female, and they did a version of Muppet.
Oh, the Distillers. The Distillers. Feature.
I was so digging that song. I'm like, it's like thrash metal, but like with funny vocals. I love this.
You just download that just for kicks.
I definitely heavily considered it, but then I'm like, it's okay. I can live without it. But I really love the intro track in the beginning of
their albums.
In particular of
Mediocre Generica.
Of World Trade.
What?
Of F World Trade.
Change your radiator.
skaters and metalheads
They're the same.
in the gutter and chained to a radiator for 15 years.
We are the same. We are pleased for that. The new crack rock stay is coming back on.
The return of the thunderous cacophony.
From the same people who brought to you Mediocre Generating Erica, released on 9/11/01. We are pleased to announce.
It's so hilarious and yet like so epic at the same time.
It's
You're
so
like,
good.
oh.
And then they took a long time to release their third record. It's 11 years to release Constructs of the State, which is, it's a weird mix between what they already did. It's the best sounding. I think everything was released on Fat Wreck this time. But basically, but it's more thrashy than the rest. It's got like more like
Oh, nice.
You might like that record the most.
Yeah, I might give it a shot.
There's a lot of featured songs. Like there's a song where his girlfriend from another band called Days and Days is featured.
Oh, dope.
Yeah.
Nice.
And, yeah, it's a great band. I think I talked too much on them, but I really gonna get the chance at all with these bands. So on this podcast, because it's metal, I probably will eventually. But yeah, Leftover.
Well, I mean, I think Leftover.
Crack.
Thank you for saying the band name for me. I think definitely those guys in particular, they could definitely earn some street cred with some metalheads, because they definitely could do some like metal oriented stuff.
They're coming to Portland actually with the Casualties, who are actually might be the most fun live performance I've ever seen, and
dope.
In February. But if it's still open, I might get tickets. Yeah. Good go.
I mean, depending on when that vaccine is made and ready for mass distribution and preparing the inoculation of the masses worldwide, which I've heard it could happen as early as like October or November of this year. So February 2021 concert could definitely still be on. Who knows? Yeah.
Would you go with me if I bought tickets?
Absolutely.
I think especially after what I told you when I saw the Casualties, it's like, oh, that sounds like fun. Most memorable. Sure. I don't love them. I don't love them the most as a punk band, but there's some amazing energy.
Just fun. Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
What you mean.
What's your number 4? 4. Yeah. 3.
No. Yeah. There you go.
3.
3.
I held up a 1. We held up a 1.
Hey, for all of you at home.
Also, enjoy this really long episode. It's really long, my dude. It's like our second episode.
Yeah, I mean, this is what happens when we talk about lists. We say that we can get through them fast, and we don't. Go figure. Number 3 is a little band that you already said. It's U2.
Featuring Bono and the Edge and Larry Mullen Jr. Adam Clayton.
I think you just peaked the mic. I think you just peaked the mic with you saying Bono.
Bono!
Oh God, Bono!
I love you. So the fangirls. Oh my God, Bono! Talk about America.
I missed your long hair of the 80s.
I'll meet you at where the streets have no name.
Sorry, that was horrible. I hated every bit of it. But yeah,
the fans loved it.
I basically loved them for all the same reasons that you did, Pablos. It's just specifically with them. I remember I started with Joshua Tree and it was great. I was like, oh man, this record's really good. And people who say it's one of the best records of all time, like it's a hard claim to argue against, because it is one of those legendary records, from start to finish. But I wasn't that big of a fan. Like I would like songs here and there, like, oh yeah, Beautiful Day, Elevation, Stuck in the Moment You Can't Get Out of. I love these.
Elevation.
Acrobat. This one. Pablos, why must you interrupt what I'm saying?
I just had to go.
You making noises.
Elevation. He just does that. It's hilarious.
Yeah, well,
I love that song, man. It's like when he went into the studio, the producer was like, "So Bono, we have the song. What do you want to do for the chorus?" He just goes, and like, but Bono, I don't know if we can do that. No, I want. Are you sure? Okay, Bono, we'll keep it. You can stop it, Bono.
yeah, I'm sure it went exactly like that. So like I take songs here and there, like, oh yeah, Please from Pop. I like this one. I'm gonna admit I'm not a huge fan of their B-sides, and I'm not a huge fan of their later albums.
Okay.
But the reason why they're number 3 on my list is when I was getting ready to move from my what was it? I was moving out of my I was moving for the second time. I was moving to a rental, I think. And I remember I
Is this the last time you moved?
This was so
Or was this
I had
before
to
that?
move from my old house to the new house.
This is the last house
in,
that you're at.
This house in the countryside. And then I was moving from this house because it was getting remodeled.
This is the one I've been to, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, this is the one you went to when we did pre
Corn Breaks
concert,
for Benjamin and Tool.
Corn and Tool as well. So
yeah. Okay.
So with and it wasn't until that moving, when I was moving out of that house when it was getting remodeled, that I got that I can't remember, one of the days, like I had finished my online schooling and I went over to my I was in my aunt's house, I think. Just because like my mom helps out my aunt a lot with stuff, and they're good friends, and we love her, and she's great to hang out with, so we help her out. And
is this the same aunt that went to the Tool concert?
Yes, yeah.
This she's cool. She laughed at half the things I said, but that's what I remember.
Yeah, she's super easygoing and really great to get along with. But at her house, she has a bunch of U2, and I'm like I should get their older stuff. Let me grab copies of
War.
Let me grab a copy. So she had like Boy, War, and like October, right? I grabbed
those
all
are their
three
first.
And I borrowed them. I wrote
those
her
are their
a text to let her know that I borrowed them, and I was gonna bring them back like ASAP. And I remember the first time that I listened to those records, I think it was more life-changing than when I listened to Joshua Tree.
Yeah.
Because like there's something about the riffs that were so more emotionally moving to me on like Boy and October than like Joshua Tree to me. Like Joshua Tree's great, don't get me wrong, but there's just something about that their early material that just resonates with me so strongly. So
their early stuff is what most people would call their more punk days, where they were heavily Ramones and Clash influenced, you could tell.
Yeah.
Like, but you listen to a lot of the song, like War. They're Sunday Bloody, so a lot of the songs off of that are from the Irish, I believe the revolution that happened. And and they remembered when people died, and then like I Will Follow is very emotional because it's about his mother.
Right.
He brings that up a lot, and then October has a lot of, because it's what they believe, religious.
They had trouble with their local pastor, I think, or whatever,
Uh-huh.
like their faith organization that they
Mhm.
believed in. They were getting stigmatized and like getting dirty looks for being like in a rock band and like living the
Well,
rock
yeah,
lifestyle
back
and
then
stuff.
in the 90s it started like, oh, rock and even metal and Christianity is a thing.
Yeah, I mean, like,
Creed,
I'm yeah,
like my own, like I mean, Creed's not bad, but not great.
and they're not like Skillet. Skillet's pretty famous. They're a pretty famous
Skillet's cool from
Christian.
what I've heard. I mean,
They're they're they're,
they're not
they're
They're not
interesting,
overly Christian in their music, but they're
but they're notorious for being like one of the more well-known like Christian metal bands. Like when
yeah.
you think of that,
I mean,
but
there's Tom
but like
Araya. It's like
yeah, yes, Tom Araya, the Christian who is in the most non-Christian band ever.
one of them.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot actually. Compared to most black metal bands, Slayer looks like a bunch of like saintly angels. So, it's what it is. But like back to U2. Yeah, I don't know. Like the song off of October Tomorrow is also really emotional because I think it's another reference to the hardships of living in Ireland during the Irish Revolution.
Mhm.
You're so, like somebody's their parents they could go out to like walk to school and they could get shot, they could die. Like that was a possibility, that was a very real possibility that they had to deal with every single
Yeah,
day just to live. And I think
they touch on
tomorrow
that in
and tomorrow definitely touches on like I think the difficulties of living in that environment.
they actually really talk about that in their album Songs of Innocence, about what it was like to live in those times. And
mm,
like on that album, Bono puts one of the first song he ever wrote, which was a poem to his future wife
oh,
called "A Song for Someone," and then he has a song called Iris, which is his mother's name, about his mother.
oh yeah.
He has a song called Cedarwood Road, which is about where he grew up and what he did after his mother's death and how he felt.
Hmm.
And he really showed this at the concert when I saw them in Chicago. It was a very emotional concert.
Yeah, yeah.
And there's a song called "Raised by Wolves" on the album, which is about it's similar to the story of Sunday Bloody Sunday, but
Yeah.
it's what he remembers from the photographs of the people who killed these other people, and it was like
Oh,
just like they're like wolves, they're like monsters, and so
yeah.
I mean I don't know if have you listened to that album before?
I have only listened to Every Breaking Wave. That was the only song that really
Because
captivated my interest. But
if
my dad, like I think I referenced earlier, my dad's a U2 fan. It's one of his main bands. My
Mhm.
mom loves U2. And they both were kind of like, eh,
I thought it
with
was
Songs
one of
of
their best
Innocence.
album.
Really?
It was super
Interesting.
emotional. You could tell.
Huh.
You might if you might like it if you like it emotional, like cause when he's
Mhm.
actually saying what he in a lot of songs he's saying what he says truthfully. It's
Yeah.
one of my it might be my favorite U2 album, which is weird, but
Yeah.
yeah.
I don't know. Like, but yeah, but back to what I was saying before, the whole reason why U2 gets bumped up to 3 is just because of those first 3 records and the
They're really
way
good.
like just how like the Edge's use of like pedal effects to make those driving like rock riffs to have like that ethereal touch that just make shivers go up and down my spine, just absolutely perfect. And just with those 3
Such a good
albums
guitarist.
alone, I know, right?
He's
Just
so
with those
great.
3 albums alone, plus like how already cool Joshua Tree was, like for different reasons, and then
And yeah, the stuff off of
and
Uptown
then how
Baby.
Unforgettable Fire,
And
was like the perfect bridge between the more ambient Joshua Tree and the kind of more aggressive ethereal punk rock leanings of their previous efforts with the Unforgettable Fire. So,
mhm.
but yeah, so just because of that, for their early albums,
Yeah.
their 80s
I
material,
wonder
U2 number 3.
I wonder how a fan would react to their history, because they went from boy and then they had this Unforgettable Fire, which was like, oh, interesting. And then Joshua Tree came out, and it was like, oh my, it took over. And then Octong Baby came out, and that's the only other album they could do a big tour for, in my opinion.
Yeah, well,
One's on there, which might be their biggest song ever that they've done.
One, yeah. I think that, or either With or Without You,
or Where the Streets Have No Name is huge.
Yeah, that's true. But what's really funny is I can actually personally attest to this because, again, the same aunt that had the U2 CDs, she told me the story of how she was like living abroad in Amsterdam when that album came out, when Joshua Tree came out, and she was already a big U2 fan at that point, and she picked it up.
So she was she was a fan when they weren't even super big then.
Yeah.
Wow, that's cool. That's a cool story.
It's super neat. And I remember she told me the first time she listened to this, she hated it. She's like, "What is this? Like, this is not U2. The classic, they sold out moment, but then,
Metallica."
but then she grew to like it. And I particularly find Octane Baby interesting. I haven't listened to that record in its entirety. One's okay, and there's a few other neat songs like Acrobat's neat. But what proves interesting to me in that album is how they predicted that they had to experiment with their musical formula further if they wanted to stay in the conversation of bands within the 90s. And then they were like Metallica. They foresaw there was a shift in the musical landscape and that they had to change ahead of time. And because Octane Baby, that came out like...
But that was a good change. Like, it was received very well. Unlike Metallica, even fans of the Black Album were like, what? A little bit.
Yeah, they're like,
okay. And especially the heavy metal, like the thrash guys are like,
oh God.
Okay.
Mick
I know someone who saw
Mick Thompson of Slipknot has a famous denouncing of Metallica in relation to that record.
I mean, I think he still likes them and he's happy he's toured.
Oh, absolutely.
And he's probably enjoyed it more as he gets older, I'm gonna guess.
Maybe, yeah.
We'll see. But it's funny because I know someone who saw Metallica in the original one of the Black Album. Did we talk about this last episode or?
We might have talked about this.
The Suicidal Tendencies
but we never
one.
Talked about it.
Yeah, he saw Metallica and he listened to them back when like Ride the Lightning or Master of Puppets came out, and he he remembers. So he said something about missing Suicidal Tendencies, who he said he sadly never was able to see in his life, but he had to hear Fear Factory play Invisible Wounds, which they've only played like 16 times. In Portland on the original Digimortal tour.
How would I cry? The tears of joy
that's his favorite song.
If they played that every single time, that is one of the songs that could get me.
Is that one of your favorite songs? Is that one of their best songs for you?
Because I bought a sorry for yet another tangent, listeners. I apologize. I bought a special edition of Digimortal, and I got a copy of Judas Priest's British Steel, as well as a copy of this electronica artist named Bonobo. I got an album of his. But I remember when I went home and I scanned in Digimortal and all those CDs and I listened to Digimortal, when I heard Invisible Wounds, every single time that I listen to it, it takes me back to when I got those CDs on a school field trip in Ashland, Oregon. Every single time.
The lyrics, it makes you think you're in a void. It puts you into a void of a guy, and like it's a weird existence. And I think, I'm gonna guess it's like a weird computer thing. Like, circuit board. But I think of him going to a void. Depending on how I'm feeling, it's either white or sometimes just dark not super cool.
Yeah.
And then
Well,
you
it
see
is
yourself,
Dark Bodies, Invisible Moon. So
dark bodies floating in darkness.
darkness.
Dark
Yeah.
bodies floating in darkness.
Well, because I first, well, because that's the thing is, I remember when on that school field trip, and you've been on this one. I mean, we went CD shopping during
Rip
my
Ashland.
senior year together. Yeah, we.
I hope I have
when
that.
you drive out to Ashland on that trip, it's just nothing but like this peaceful like farmlands just for miles to see.
Mhm.
Just nothing but like fields. And every single time I listen to that like echoey riff of
Reminds me of that trip.
of Invisible Balloons, I just picture myself looking out that bus window and seeing those fields because that
I liked Ashland a lot.
Yeah, I know, right? Ashland
That's why I want to go to
good.
the school, Southern there. That's my plan ish.
Dude,
Yeah.
that's a good pick.
Yeah, Colin's there.
I know.
Oh, shout out to Mars Bars. I think he released a new album. If you guys like hip hop and rap, you should listen to Mars Bars.
Yeah,
It's on SoundCloud.
our classmate Colin, who goes by the stage name Mars Bars. We all got along together pretty well.
MARZ and then BARZ. Mars Bars.
Mars Bars, everybody.
Yeah.
All right, but yeah. Anyway, so.
Oh yeah, story.
But yeah, but no, like that's it. Like just when I hear that, like it takes me back to that first trip in Ashland, like during my junior year when I got that CD and I first listened to that song.
Nostalgic.
So that song holds a special place in my heart. You were saying something about a friend with Metallica.
Oh well, I want to call him a friend, an adult I know who them for. He's fun to talk to. But yeah, he said he saw The people left after seeing Suicidal Tendencies because they were like, they would see him. And so he went to see Metallica, and he was able to get, because people were leaving, one of the guys that was working at the place they were playing at said, he wrote something on the ticket and said, here, you can go down there. And so he got like really good seats or pits.
Nice.
And when they started playing stuff like Master of Puppets, people were like, what's this? And he goes, this is the good stuff. and it's interesting because of how hard, because Master of Puppets wasn't being played on the radio for years.
It's too long of a song.
And not just that, he heard only Black Album stuff. For whom Metals, nothing. Fade to Black was never played. None of their classic. He only heard one a few times. Not even then. Rarely.
Yeah, I mean,
it was Enter Sandman. Nothing Else Matters. Unforgiven. Stuff like that.
That was being played on the radio.
And it wasn't until the late until Load and Reload came out was when they started airing Master Puppets, and then it started becoming a classic.
Yeah, and then For Whom as well, no doubt. Yeah.
Fade to Black and stuff like that.
Seek and Destroy.
Yeah, and but yeah, going on. Well, is that all we were? Yeah, that's all we were talking about. I don't want to go any further on this tangent.
But yeah, you too. Number 3. Hey.
Number 3 for me. Oh my lord, this is long. That might be longer than our second episode. It's fine.
No, that's okay. It's okay. We got this.
I'm still high. It's better. I'm enjoying this a bit more. But
okay, good. That's awesome.
Yeah, I think every episode's more enjoyable than the last. I hope it's the same. We don't have a bad episode, in my opinion. Okay, everybody. Even though our first is our worst in the beginning, and then it got really once I started going on a tangent about fake bands, and I'm going on a tangent about me going on a tangent, and now I'm going on a tangent about me going on a tangent, Okay, I'm done.
Okay.
Number 3, The Bouncing Souls.
Hey.
Punk band from I want to say New Jersey. New York or New Jersey, something like that. If you want just something uplifting and just like and just you can just jump up and down to Bouncing Souls, How I Spent Your Summer Vacation. Fantastic record. Manthem, True Believers, amazing songs. The vocalist, it's just this music. If it's when I'm angry, I'll either listen to Slipknot or I'll put on Rancid or especially the Bouncing Souls because they're just fun. If the sun is shining and I'm going for a walk, Bouncing Souls, stuff like that. Even the new EP, Crucial Moments, is really good. I was gonna see them live. The Bronx were gonna open for them, and another one of the technically the first punk band I ever saw, Sharp Shock. They were opening for the Interrupted.
Oh, interesting.
We're gonna open as well, and I miss that. Hope to see them sometime. But they're just there's not much I have to say about this. I can say about this band except they're fun. They're just energetic, and they just really make me really happy to listen to.
Yeah.
And all their albums are awesome, and have a nice spot on my battle vest as well. And yeah, very, very nice, very awesome band. Check them out. All right, number dose for George. That took like a minute. That took like a minute to talk about that. Whereas you
it took half an eternity.
It took like 3 hours. You two took like 3 hours.
Yeah, well, it's what it is.
It's fun.
Number 2 for me goes to this band called Massive Attack.
My lucky number.
Now these guys, they are an electronic band straight out of Bristol, England, I believe.
Straight out of Compton. I'm just kidding.
No.
It's like no, I don't. Not Compton.
But yeah, this is a band that they supposedly, or they are largely viewed as the original progenitors of the subgenre of electronica called trip hop. Now, I remember I discovered this band through, of all people, my freshman history and senior English teacher. He played a song by these guys.
Mr. Weaver?
Yeah, Mr. Weaver. He played a song.
I told him I had a podcast. Actually, I was like,
he played a song. But yeah, anyway, he played a song called "Teardrop," and I was like, "Ooh, I really like this. What's this?" And he told me, like, "Oh, it's Massive Attack called Teardrop." And so I checked it out, and I'm like, "Okay, I like this." That Christmas, I got a copy of that album that Teardrop was on. It's an album called Mezzanine. It's regarded as one of their best. And that album is so good because here's the thing: it's electronic, and there's definitely some softer elements to it that are like more melodic, but it is a lot. Sometimes it is dark, it is heavy, and there are some parts of it that border on like industrial rock and metal. Like it carries that heavy of an atmosphere to some of the stuff. Like even bands like the Dillinger Escape Plan and post Max Calavera Sepultura have covered Massive Attack.
That's right.
Speaks volumes to how heavy that album got, like that they could reach.
So they're
audience.
like industrial hard rock.
Well, that album was. The rest of their stuff is like very mellow electronic rap based kind of stuff, which is also great. Like I can't object to that.
Do they?
They have an album, like their first album, Blue Lines, is really good. Protection, I thought I most recently got. Protection's very nice.
Do they tour?
They do. They do. I think they just have a menagerie of the guest vocals that they have on the record, and then they, do the songs like they would.
Without guest vocals, or
with the guest vocalists, like they'll just bring them on, like with them,
sort of like
on
what
tour.
Band Camelot does live, except
okay,
they just take one woman, and because they're primarily a symphonic melodic power metal band, but they'll feature people they featured a couple times Shagrath from Dimmu Borgir to do growling vocals at part.
Oh, nice.
And you
Cool.
can tell that the band members like death metal, and or death metal style vocals. So they'll have,
Yeah. Like,
it's usually
because
obscure people I've never heard of. Like
Really?
a lot of them are women because they like to have female parts in their songs because they like to do storytelling, and
Right.
they'll have a woman sing and then she'll be like, "Rah," and it's like, whoa, and you at least expect it, and it's like
Nice.
awesome.
Dope. But yeah, like I think also another thing about Massive Attack that I really like is they got a lot of good female vocalists to sing on their stuff. Even the almighty Madonna worked with them.
Wow, that's an honor.
On a for sure on a movie soundtrack.
She's still around? I don't. What happened to her?
Yeah, she's still around. I mean,
She
she's
doesn't
old, but like
do much?
she's still doing stuff. Yeah,
Okay.
that's what it is. But yeah, so number 2, Massive Attack. I really like these guys. Anyway,
My number 2 now.
yeah, what's your
All
guys?
right, you probably guessed it. The one, the only, No Effects.
That's me on the beach side, combing the sand, metal meter in my hand, sporting a pocket full of change.
Made up of El Jefe, Smelly, Eric Melvin, and of course, Fat Mike.
Mike. Yeah.
Best name ever. He's so cool, but he's such a jerk sometimes, and he doesn't know. I don't know if he notices. He's a type.
Or maybe it's one and the same.
If I went to a show, he would pick on me and be like, "Dude, what are you doing at our shows? You're a kid." And he'll do some weird. He'll say some weird sexually inappropriate comment about something that no one will ever heard of. Yeah, this is why we don't want kids at our shows. All right, kid. And like he did a show in Germany. They did a show in Germany, and there was a kid who wore a Nirvana t-shirt.
Oh no.
Hey, Nirvana kid. And then he's like, "Are your parents here? Is that your mom? Okay, I'm gonna tell your mom. Hey, kid." And then there's another kid with a Blink-182 shirt, and he goes, "Hey, it's a Blink kid." And then then he's like does a similar thing, and like El Jefe is like, "I think what if the Blink and 182 kid and the Nirvana kid fought each other, and we could on stage, and we could see who's the better band." And, it's funny because the kid with the Blink-182 shirt 10 years later went on to open for No Effects.
No.
Yeah, he was like
Really?
13 or 14 at the show, and now he's like, oh, he at the show, like, how old are you? And then he goes 1-3. Man, he had to hold up his fingers to show up his age. Ha ha. That's funny. What a he basically said it in a nice way. What a dumb kid. You know, it's a respectable way. What a stupid kid.
Yeah.
And he's gotten them, and she's gotten them banned. I could talk about this band maybe longer than I could talk about any other. I think I know more about them than about.
Yeah, you told me some
Metallica.
Really crazy stuff about
Because
this band.
they have a lot of documentaries, and like
Yeah.
if we ever get the chance to hang out for like 5 hours, I think half of that we could just spend watching their touring documentary, which goes
Yeah.
time of touring, and it's really funny, and it goes to show what like the tour life is like, except crazier because they're in countries like they're the first and I believe only U.S. punk band to ever be allowed to play in mainland China.
Whoa.
Because they got special permission from the government. I don't know why they, of all punk bands, were allowed to play there. Because they're very
Anti-authoritarian.
I wouldn't call Fat Mike racist, but he kind of can be.
I think he does it for the bit.
Like an El Jefe, like they did a show in Israel, or not in Israel. They did a show in a Muslim country, and they throw on one of like the head things, and he puts it on, and they're all like boo, and he starts speaking in some like dialect. He's like, "What?
No.
Do that?" And then because they're notorious for being, they're like if you watch South Park, It's like going.
Yeah.
It's like going to a No Effects concert.
So NoFX is South Park in punk band form.
Yeah, but live performance. They're also 21 and over, or sometimes 18 and older. They're on my bucket list for bands I need to see, and that bucket list, it doesn't include Ozzy anymore, but I wouldn't say I love his music, but I want to see that man somehow, or at least
Somewhere.
Naomi, or Geezer Butler, or Bill Ward. Any of them.
Yeah.
But yeah, No Effects, awesome. They what do you think of No Effects, George?
I will say 2 words. She's nubs. That song.
It's not one of my personal favorites, but I see it's funny. It's funny.
Killed me. I first time I listened to it, I'm like, what is going on?
That's a lot of songs too.
I mean, a lot of them. I'm like, what?
Like, you wouldn't call yourself a diehard fan, but if you heard them, you would be like, okay, I'm listening.
I love the comedic aspect of their music, and some of their stuff. Like, I really like the like rapid fire. Like, more
he's a good band. In fact, because Fat Mike is the bassist for the band, and he's
really okay.
They suck live as well, but they use that to their advantage, so they don't suck live. First live album is called I Heard They Suck Live, and then their second live album is called, which was released like 20 years later, was I can't believe they've actually gotten worse live.
Yeah, so they know how to make fun of themselves and their somewhat not PC humor oriented behavior. Like, they seem to make fun of themselves in that sense.
Yeah.
So
and Fat Mike is got maybe my favorite record label ever, which has most of my favorite punk bands. And also he tours with some of my other favorite punk bands, like Bad Religion. They've toured with, they've done a co-headline with Rancid. They've done Bouncing Souls, Anti-Flag, Leftover Crap, Descendants, Flogging Molly even has been with them on tours. God, I could go on. They're just about as awesome as a band can get.
Yeah.
All right.
But I don't like them, but I have boatloads.
You have a respect. You have a respect.
I have like an ironclad respect for those guys. I'm like, man.
Like, I would see them live with Pavlos just so I could see them and see what they do.
Absolutely. Yeah.
If you look at a concert, they just have fun, and they mess up, and like they're like Axl Rose would fire people, like stagehands who would mess up one string. No Effects messes up at their performances like half the time, and they don't care because that's they're like super punk because they don't care.
Yeah, exactly.
And Fat Mike wears dresses.
Dude, nice.
And he has his own women's underwear line.
Does he?
Oh, I believe so. Yeah.
Oh well, that's interesting.
He's done a lot of things.
He's done many a drug and
well, yeah, he didn't do drugs for a long time.
Yes,
the other bands did drugs. Smelly did heroin for years.
Oh, dude.
He also had a romantic connection with Courtney Love.
Oh, well.
And he never told his wife. So what they did a book called Hepatitis Bathtub and Other Stories, where they wrote everything that they didn't know about each other, they were embarrassed about, like that they had a hard book. And so when Smelly's wife got to the part about Courtney Love, she looked at him, turned off the light, and just went to bed and didn't say anything. And he was like,
"Oh, God!"
Because he looked at her and he was like, "Oh, she's getting to that part."
Oh God!
And like there's a whole thing where Smelly almost got arrested.
I'm surprised the divorce didn't ensue right then.
Yeah. And there's a whole part where, well, they weren't married then, and this was during heroin time. El Jefe did a whole thing where he got there were a lot of drug stuff. The first words of the book were Fat Mike. It's Fat Mike section. Is like, I remember the first time I drank pee. He actually enjoys drinking pee as a
kids. Kids, everyone out there who's listening to this, like the 20 or so people that are listening to this podcast.
If you've gotten this far.
If you've got, you might have already checked out. You're like out the door, you're in your car, you're at home, like doing something probably far more important than listening to two teenagers talk about music. Don't do drugs.
Don't drink pee.
Just don't drink pee. Just don't do either of those.
But yeah, no effects. Number 2, their best album is Wolves in Wolves Clothing, but their most well known is Punk and Drublic. What's your number 1, George?
Okay, I'm actually really proud of this number 1. This was an artist that I remember existed for the longest time, and I never got into her until super recently. And so my number 1 artist is Lindsey Stirling. She's the world famous electronica EDM meets classical trained violin and dancing. Now, I remember the first time I ever got introduced to her talent and work was because first she started from getting famous on YouTube because she would do videos based on like she'd play violin and dance at the same time. Very hard to do, very, very tricky. And she was able to. She also was on like America's Got Talent, but she didn't win. But that just puts more proof that you don't need to win a talent. That actually, a lot of people that don't win those shows can actually go on to be more successful than those who do.
Well, yeah, everyone who goes on is talented, usually in some way. So, like, amazing talent. There was that one in like Poland where the guy was doing black metal screams, and he was like, anyway, and then they were like staring. One guy was trying not to laugh. One guy was like, okay.
There's a and real briefly on this. There was one guy that did like slam death metal vocals who did like pig squealing like. So funny.
My favorite one was the guy who tried to do Rammstein.
All the like the panel of judges actually were kind of looking at this somewhat seriously. Some of them were like breaking and they're like, what is this? But some of them were like, okay. But yeah, back to Lindsey Stirling. So I first got learned of her when she did when the band the a cappella group the Pentatonics they did a cover of Imagine Dragons' Radioactive. In the music video, and I think in the song, they recruited Lindsey Stirling to be in their cover, and she did violin. And in the music video, it's her like dancing around in like post-apocalyptic clothing with her violin. She's going nuts, and then all the other all the other Pentatonics people are like doing their a cappella parts, like as you do. And that was my first introduction to her as an artist, and I'm like, okay, interesting. And then she did like some like fun guest star thing. She was on the YouTube show Good Mythical Morning, where she was on as a guest, and she was doing some fun stuff with those hosts. And then I remembered the name. The name stuck with me for the longest time, but I totally forgot about her until when you and I, we were in, again, this was Ashland. We were in we were in a CD store, and we were rifling through CDs as we do.
Which one was this?
And this was the one where I got the copy of Destruction's Eternal Devastation and my copy of Led Zeppelin's 4. Led Zeppelin 4.
Eternal Devastation.
Oh God, it's such a travesty that album is so poorly produced. It's really good.
They did an album where they re-recorded all their old, like a lot of their old songs, and put it onto an album.
Yeah,
it sounds so good.
Oh yeah, their production's got massively better in the 2000s and stuff. But anyway, that's another topic for another day. So when we were looking, there's this one song that the store was playing over and over again, and it was this vocalist, and she was singing, and it was like, she was singing like Starry Night, Speck of Light, don't you know you're made of light, or something, and it's super beautiful vocals.
Starry night, speck of white, would you know you're made of light?
And I'm like, who is this? And so I took out my phone and I Shazammed it, and it was Lindsey Stirling. It was a song that she did called Foreverglow, and it was off of her new album called Artemis. I got that album and I was blown away, just like swept off my feet. I'm like, whoa, like this is nuts. Like just because I was still getting into electronica. Like I said, I was getting into like Massive Attack and stuff. So I was already getting well versed into the electronica and electronic music that I liked. And then to see this combined with this beautiful violin and vocals, just breathtaking. I mean, like on that album, Artemis, Lindsey Stirling has a song called Love Goes On and On that features guest vocals by Amy Lee of Evanescence.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So she has like even a foothold in like the rock world, which is really cool to see. And also on an earlier album called she had Lizzie Hale from Hailstorm featured on a song called Shatter Me, which was also really good. So Artemis totally enraptured me, and I'm like, I need to get more Lindsey Stirling. I quickly got her other 3 albums. I mean, she's released numerous singles. I mean, that's kind of how it is with a lot of EDM artists, that they'll release single after single, but albums are kind of seldom, few and far between. And her self-titled was really good. I just was actually this week listening to it a couple more times. And it's really pretty. Like it shows like all of those elements in like artistic infancy. Like you could tell that the promise was there and it was good, but it wasn't perfected quite like on Artemis. Shatter Me like was basically like what Artemis was, but earlier in her career, where it was like a few songs that had some vocals, and then the rest of them were like this electronic, like violin kind of a thing. Okay. And then her album Brave Enough it's still good. There's just a little bit too many guest vocals. Well, no, actually the problem is her music, oftentimes she has female guest vocals. Mm-hmm. To me fit. Like that music sound like that fits for whatever reason. Like I don't know what to say. But she had like the country singers Dan and Shay on a song, and she had the guy from Weezer on and stuff. And she also had like some like like hip hop rap artist that like does like that has more like Christian lyrical stuff from background from that. And so I'm like, it's not bad. It certainly has like many good songs. And again, like it's without doubt Lindsey Stirling. Like it's not like she did a totally like 180. It's completely different from all her other stuff. It's just that the guest vocals there were too many of them, in my opinion. And some of them like I didn't enjoy. Like there's plenty where I'm like, ooh yeah, cool guest vocals. I like that. That's really nice. But then like some others that just didn't work for me. Yeah. So, but all in all, like still one of my absolute favorite non-metal artists. She is so creative. Like
get a patch.
Who knew? I know. I gotta get a patch. Just slap it right next to my Slayer, like right under my Slayer. Just
put it under like Watain, right above, right next, like
Is he Sterling? Yeah.
Look it up. Look it up after this and just see what you find.
Well, so actually, I was just about to say, one more thing about what I like about her is she's expressed that she went through, she's went through some hardships. Like she's expressed that she suffers from anxiety and
Does that play into the
she
sound of her music?
Well,
I'm gonna assume it will because
I think it does. Well, because her content, because she also suffered from like eating disorders, which is some pretty nasty stuff, like really nasty to pin down stuff of the human mind. And she's like suffered depression, anxiety, eating disorders, like all this crap. She wears those experiences like on her sleeve, and she's like, and she's such a good shining example of like
surviving.
Like, because I suffer from some of those things. Like, I haven't suffered from an eating disorder, but like, I know, like, I have massive amounts of anxiety, and I know I get like these random fits of depression.
Same.
They've come over me, and
they still do, because depression never truly, in one sense, leaves. I mean, you could say that it gets better, and then you're not depressed, but it's like if you do a drug and you get clean, you will always have a somewhat of a need.
You're always a drug addict.
But you were saying how she has all these issues, and I was thinking, because I know what's an example? The lead singer of Breaking Benjamin Burnley. He was what was he? He was a
like a type of an anxiety disorder.
Not an anxiety. Well, I wouldn't. He was a psychotic something.
Bipolar.
What he was a
he was diagnosed with some kind of mental disorder. Like,
I'm sorry. I need to know. This is
well. So I guess in the meantime, while my dear co-host Paul.
Well, I was saying I would cut this out.
Well, no, I can fill in the gap for you because I still have some things to say about Lindsey Sterling while you look up what you're going to say. So while my dear co-host here looks up this very key information that will contribute to this conversation, right. I just wanted to add that. So like Lindsey Sterling, like her, to see a musical artist that has had bouts with some of the mental disorders and the problems that I also face, and seeing that like she's successful and she knows how to deal with it, and she's such a positive influence, and she like talks about it, and tells like get help if you need it, you're never alone. That always has been very encouraging to me as a person, because even though like even though I have plenty of love and support from my family, my friends, and and people that I know, it's always it always just kind of, it's always good to know that like even the most successful people, or even the ones that you idolize, have problems, and
most
have
of the
your
people
problems, and have dealt with them, and like are survivors, and can tell you, you can get through it, you can do this.
It's interesting because a lot of the most famous people have gone through some sort of like, especially in music, have gone through some sort of depression. Yeah. Like if you look at the biggest names, and even like metal, or even in pop, they have gone through like a depression issue that has or an addiction or something. Like I know Justin Bieber had his own issues when he was, because I mean part of it was his sudden rise when he was a kid.
Demi Lovato, I think recently, very emotional struggle with addiction and depression. I know.
List can go on and on. Jonathan Davis from Korn had his own
I think also,
childhood issues.
I don't know if she said this, but have you heard anything about Billie Eilish having some of these issues? I mean,
no. I mean, maybe.
yeah. Well, but like point being is like, I can imagine, like, in all walks of life, in all genres of music, we have these struggles.
Yeah.
Like we're all in this together in that sense.
I was gonna say.
So did you find out?
Yes,
information?
Benjamin
Okay,
Burnley from Breaking Benjamin. He was
what's up?
paranoid schizophrenic.
No, really?
We had He also had hypochondria and a
Whoa. And a what?
fear of the dark.
Okay, well, I mean, I'm also can be afraid of the dark.
But it's like a diagnosis. Are you diagnosed with a? Okay.
Dude, paranoid schizophrenic. God, I can hardly imagine.
And the drugs didn't help at all.
Oh,
he was on drugs up till after he did up until Phobia, which was the album with Diary of Jane.
Yeah.
And I think that's why a lot of their sound from especially that early time, which was grungy and sludgy and like.
Yeah.
And then it was, I think, and also his drugs, his stuff that he's diagnosed with, definitely played a huge part into the songwriting. He had a hard time with human connection, and that's why a lot of songs are about love, about how love is about finding love or love just stabbing you in the back. Like Diary of Jane is about constantly trying to be with someone.
Yeah.
A creepy way with someone. That's like I will try and find my place in the diary. It's a metaphor trying to put yourself in this person's life when they don't want to be with you and you're just concentrating, and it becomes more of a mental, and it drives you insane in like a dark way.
I know that is definitely a relatable feeling, and it's really interesting that you say that he like a lot of his songs are about social love, that kind of thing, like love or the lack thereof.
Yeah,
because I in some of my work that I was doing, some of my schoolwork, I was reading a chapter that was of this book for a class that was talking about how the dreams of people indicate, like the quality of someone's dream indicates like their mental state and some diagnoses and some like mental diagnosis of mental disorders. And
this is a real thing.
Yes, this is a chapter from a book, and it was said that scientists reported that people that were diagnosed with forms of schizophrenia, their dreams were consisted of people like nothing but strangers, like lack of human interaction. So it's interesting that you say that about Benjamin Burnley, because then that's an additional correlate, because he was diagnosed with paranoid schizophrenia, like you said, and then you say that a lot of his lyrical content was like that, which then also correlates to what I just read in this chapter of this book. So that's super interesting to me.
But he's got his life back together. He has a wife. He has a child. He has a little baby, Benjamin Jr.
Oh, is it named Ben?
He'll carry on the torch for the next Breaking Benjamin. The one that went on over 100 years. That would be interesting. I want that to be a thing. I would love that if that happened. There was a band that would, for like centuries. I mean, I won't be alive to see the century. You know what I mean? It would be kind of cool. It's going to happen. There's going to be a band.
Some bands, like it'll be like a family business where it's like this
Foreigner,
band is yours now.
Like Foreigner, I believe, like in the band Foreigner, there's no one who was an original member. I mean, there's a classic lineup.
Yeah,
there's no one from the original band. We're gonna end this with my number one. I'm tired. Let's just do this. The greatest band in the world, actually, in my opinion, is not a metal band. It's a punk band known with two words as Strung Out.
Don't look back in anger, now it's all that you can see. 'Cause anger's all I got to keep me warm in your way.
Band to ever...
Pablos is number one, revealed at last.
Yeah. Not even Slipknot is better than this band. No,
Strong claims.
never. I listen to that. I listen. I don't know. They're one of those bands. They're the band that I don't know why I love them that much. Like,
Yeah.
they're simple, but they're so. I think it's because the variety. Okay. Let's go talk about their best album.
Yeah.
Twisted by Design.
Oh yeah, that album cover's weird.
Yeah,
It
it
definitely
was.
unsettled me.
It was the first album their third album, but it was the last album with Jim Cherry, which was their bassist at the time.
Mhm.
He left in a good place with the rest of the band. They were like, okay,
That's nice.
good,
At
and
least
he
that's
formed another
cool.
band called Pulley. Great songwriter. That's why he wrote maybe the greatest song ever written, called Matchbook, which is the last song off of Twisted by Design.
Mhm.
Excellent song. It's just, I don't know. I like the kind of story behind it. There's something about it that's amazing. But where was I going? Jim Cherry left, and then he died in like 2001 or 2, and then Fat Mike sang a song and talked about him in one of his songs where he said he did a song on Fat Mike did a song. NoFX did a song called "On Wolves and Wolves Clothing" called "Doornails," where they said this song is for this person.
Oh.
Song like this one's for Jimmy for giving us, and then he built.
Oh, I remember this.
And then he added song titles like "Bring Out Your Dead," and I love that song. It's that one's off of Suburban Teenage Wasteland Blues. Great title.
I love it. Yeah, that's a good album title.
I thought it was an Egyptian hieroglyph when I first looked at the album art, and then I was like, never mind.
On the TV.
Yeah, the whole thing. I don't know why it reminded me of a hieroglyph. And then the first album
It
was
made me
good.
think of the really creepy levels of like the plasticity the plasticity to the art style of like the 50s and the 60s.
Yeah, it's
you know what I'm talking
but it's
about?
they've changed. The band has changed a ton over the years. Their sound has.
Mm-hmm.
They've always been a punk metal band. A lot of people call them Ozzy Osbourne, but sped up
Interesting.
version. That's what some people would call them.
Because they've covered "Bark at the Moon,"
Which
an
is
Ozzy Osbourne
Loudwire
song.
called that one of the top 10 best Ozzy Osbourne cover songs ever made.
Nice.
And
Cool.
yeah, which is awesome. And I heard that live. They ended their show in I got to see them in Portland for they were supporting their album Songs of Armor and Devotion. Casualties were opening, who somehow did a better job performing, and they didn't like steal the show per se, but they did a freaking amazing show, and now did great too. They were awesome. It was cool. They was on Halloween. They dressed up. The guitarist dressed up as one of the guitarists dressed up as Wayne from Wayne's World.
Oh, dude, nice.
Dressed as a black metal drummer.
The drummer. Oh,
Yeah, he dressed as, and then so did
all.
so did one of the so did one of the other guitarists, but he looked more like Kiss. I think he was trying to go for a Kiss look.
Yeah. All right.
And then the bassist wore like a tiki skull mask, like or one of those Mexican skull masks for like the Dia de los Muertos type masks, and he
did. So yeah,
he wore an all black suit with that as well. And
oh, cool, nice.
The lead singer wore a weird bathrobe, and he wore like a pig mask thing.
Dope.
It was really weird.
That's awesome.
I liked how random how diverse it was.
Yeah, like that. See, like when you have a show, Halloween night, like you gotta bring it.
Yeah,
like,
on Instagram they did a poll, and they were like, "Do you guys want us to dress up?" And I'm like, "Yes," and it was like,
absolutely
to 2%, and I'm like, I'm lucky. I'm so happy that was on Halloween night. I remember going to that.
Yeah.
The night I went, that was when we had the Halloween thing, and I dressed up as my friend. Oh.
Was it that night?
It was Riley. I dressed up as like basically.
Yes, I remember that. That
What
was
happened
super
was when ended up happening was I had jokingly said the day before at school, "Yo, what if I dressed up as you?" And he's like, "What if I dressed up as you?" I'm like, that'd be funny." And then
funny. Like actually,
when they did the costume, when they started doing the best costume vote,
oh yeah,
me and Riley were like, "Let's just do it," and we missed it. But that's why we didn't win. But
dude, it was still one of the best. I love that.
People didn't notice
that
that Riley wasn't me. They thought it was he. They thought Riley was me.
Because with the hat on, it was really hard to tell.
Yeah, like
really.
Yeah, one guy was like, "Oh, why is Pop?"
Yeah.
Rip that hat.
Oh yeah. Don't worry.
Yeah, it's strung out
at the show.
I might, depending if it's on a flat brim. Hope it's not.
The problem is I'm gonna have to spend twice as much on merch that night because I'll buy a Gojira and a Deftones t-shirt.
That's what I'm gonna do, but it's gonna be worth it.
Yeah, I'll have to save up some cash.
If when we sing Lamb of God and Megadeth and Trivium, I'll probably get a Trivium shirt just because I already have a Lamb of God shirt. Unless it's a cool tour Lamb of God / Megadeth.
I want to get like one of the tour t-shirts where it's just split Lamb of God Megadeth.
If they have it.
Most likely they will. That's kind of
probably
like Rob Zombie, Marilyn Manson. They had a bunch of shirts like that. So
Break Horn didn't have one for Breaking Benjamin, which I was a bit. I saw that on the internet, but I think they were just handmade. They were just printed.
Yeah, who knows? I think it's very likely. It's very likely. Also, remember, this is Dave Mustaine we're dealing with.
Mm-hmm.
Guy has a little bit of an ego.
A little bit.
As does Randy. So it makes sense that probably both of them would want a t-shirt with both each other's bands on it.
No, I don't want to have one. Our egos are the opposite way. I don't want to have any part of your band. No, it's because
I didn't listen to you as a teenager.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. He's gonna be like,
yeah.
I'm not even a fan of your band. I don't even like metal that much. It's an okay genre.
Jeez.
I like punk. If you were Black Flag, I would put a shirt with you. That would be an honor. But
oh well,
piece of garbage. I wiped your. I used your CDs as toilet paper. Dave Mustaine. You think I'm a redneck? You're the redneck that we're singing about.
No,
Gosh.
I think those two guys are tight, and I think it'll work out just fine.
And you got the members of Trivium and In Flames going, hi.
They're like, what?
Matt Heffy is one of my heard from Trivium's a very nice guy. Very nice. But what should we? Oh, so Strung Out. Best album is Twisted by Design. One of the best.
Yes.
Again, Fat Wreck Chords band. That album is Twisted by Design is a favorite of one of. It's actually Fat Mike's 8th favorite album off his own record label. Which is nice.
Really?
He didn't like them as much when they became more metal and technical because after Jim Cherry left, they changed.
Yeah.
And they became like Exile and Oblivion and their album and even An American Paradox was, you could see that they were starting to get technical and very
they had that song Razor Sex, which definitely was a peak at the curtain in that direction.
Uncoil was like that, and then if you I love the opener, Velvet Alley, and then the closer to the album, Cemetery. Fantastic. I love the drum. And then it's so good. Yeah. And then Exile and Oblivion was great too. My third favorite album by them.
I'm so sad that I couldn't get into this band, but I was so excited when I thought like Exile and Oblivion was gonna do it. Could it be? Can I like this album? Because it was off to such a strong start.
Was it the first 5 or 6 songs that you liked?
It was like the first 5 songs, I think. And then after that,
Listen to it again, George. I will make sure you put at least one star. I mean, I don't care about anything else. But put one. That's a goal in life right now.
Okay.
Respect.
No, I respect.
You respect. You will enjoy at least one album. You haven't listened to all their albums. You might like Black Hawk's Over Los Angeles, which is also metal, a very metal album. In my opinion, it's a bit weaker, which is weird because it might be heavier than Exile and Oblivion, but it's got some weak points which aren't as strong. What else did they have? They had another album called Underground. Oh my lord, what was it? It's the only album I don't have by them yet because they're punk and it's harder to get their CDs. There's some good songs on it though, and I'm trying to remember the name of it, but I don't have it yet.
Interesting.
But Agents of the Underground. That's what it's called.
Okay.
And then they had then they had another record after that called Transmission Alpha Delta, which was 2015. Their last album with their longest lasting with the original drummer, which is another great record. And then they did an acoustic album, Like At the Sky, which is awesome. And then they did Songs of Armored Devotion, which might be their worst album in my opinion. I don't know why. They tried too much to be melodic and more. The drumming is good, but they tried to turn their sound into something else, which wasn't it's not a bad record. It's good.
So are you telling me that they tried to be something that they weren't?
Very
well. Then
no, it wasn't that they were trying. It was they took what they did
be themselves. By themselves, stay away from me.
Well, what they did was
I'm referencing Pantera's Walk. If this is not obvious,
Be yourself, by yourself, stay away from me.
They took what they did what they did in Transmission Alpha Delta, but they tried to do more just string like and they which I think they could have executed it a bit differently. It wasn't bad. They played. There's a great song off of it, which is called Daggers, which is great. They played that live. Yeah, best band in the world.
I think I know what you mean by that album because
which one?
I know what you mean. What you're talking about that album because there's a more
the newest one
album.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've heard. I was like, you've heard it.
You being like, I feel like it could have been executed better, like that's what you were saying. There's a Morbid Angel album called Illa Divinum Insanus, and it's notorious amongst the Morbid Angel fans as being the worst album and an embarrassment.
Is it good? In your opinion?
well, because here's the thing. It's the first record that they had with their original vocalist David Vincent since 1995's Domination, and it was released in 2011. But then he left the band after that album and touring cycle. But the thing about Illa Divinum Insanus was they were going for they were trying to incorporate some industrial electronic influence into their death metal sound.
So like a Fear Factory thing?
Well, yeah. So like
Fear's the Mind Killer type thing era?
Fear's the Mind Killer / like Soul of a New Machine. That's what I think of like by industrial death metal, right?
I can't even do that.
I thought was life came to an end.
It's such a weird death growl.
His death growl, like
I came. No, it's like it's like he inverts it back instead of going down. It goes. Oh, it's like a Yoda with a bit of death. Like it's
yeah.
I can't do it.
Much respect to much respect to Bert and C. Bell for being able to do such a really unique death
Weird.
growl.
I wouldn't say it's great, but it's weird and different.
It's strange. I personally like it just because it's so different.
Well,
But
it fits the album too, but yeah.
It does. Yeah, the album production is kind of dirty and mucky, and it fits. Anyway, but the thing is like, I haven't listened to the entire record. I will, because I'm a huge fan of industrial music and death metal, so I really don't care. I'm probably gonna love this record anyway.
It's gonna be their best record.
And I'm not really gonna give a care about people who are like, it's the worst. I'm like, okay, well, you're lost.
That's what they said about Reload, or Saint Anger, but it's not. Okay.
I personally love it. Like, again, we could do a whole segment on that.
Just the whole album. The whole album we could.
Yeah. Anyway, so, and the thing is, I've only listened to 3 songs. I've listened to Too Extreme, off this Illa Divinum Insanus. I listened to Too Extreme, Destructos versus the Earth, and then Valgor to something. I remember it's like Valgor something.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Too Extreme is almost like dubsteppy, like really EDM heavy, like drums with like death metal vocals over it, and it's not a lot of guitar. So I'm like, okay, this isn't great, but it's not terrible. Like, as an electronica fan, like, I love this. Like, this is kind of cool. Like, ooh, it's like metal meets electric music, electronic. And Destructos versus the Earth is like more of that, but a bit closer to the metal style. It's a lot of like disco, like stomp tempos, and it kind of works. But then like Valgor, whatever that song is like straight up like your standard Morbid Angel death metal, like blast beats, like destructive drums, like howling vocals, blazing guitars, like just, your standard Morbid Angel. So I look at these 3 songs, or I think about them, and I'm like, okay, so what we have here, or what I think we have here, because I haven't listened to the whole album, is the idea of them balancing with industrial metal and industrial electronic and death metal, but many of these ideas are not used together in single songs, right? It's like a lot of one or the other. You're going to get a lot of one or the other. So you're not going to get like a Fear Factory Soul of the New Machine, where you get like a song like Life Blind, where it's like you have this like industrial metal sampling in the bit, and then it goes straight destructive death metal with that, or Stealth Immolation, right?
Mm-hmm.
Stealth Immolation with like its disco beat and like it's death metal stuff like that. So instead of that, you're just going to be getting a lot of like experimentation where Morbid Angel just goes full blown like EDM metal, or then full blown death metal. At least for now, that is my opinion, which I could live with that. I'm like, yeah, that seems fine. Like,
you're your own person, George. Don't let society tell you what to do. You can be a horse if you want to. You can be you could be a Star Wars water bottle that Jar Jar Binks on it, and people will hate you, but you can do it.
Yeah. You
can say that Jar Jar Binks is the greatest character to ever form. I just vomited, everybody. And you can be wrong, and society will tell you no, but you're your own stupid person if you think that.
Yeah.
This is our next sponsor is not Jar Jar Binks, because we don't like Jar Jar Binks. Everything anti-Jar Jar Binks. Join us at the unofficial, not super real Jar Jar Binks hate site. Just a couple of metalheads. It's called www.justacouplemetalheads really hate Jar Jar Binks / Please give us money now because
We're broke.
yeah. Edu.
Oh yes, because it's so educational.
Yes.
All right. Well, I think that about does it for this episode. Everybody.
Yeah! We didn't see the end of Yeah! You were like, oh, it's done with the episode. But we didn't finish Yeah! So
Oh, don't you start with me, mister. Don't you
Yeah!
start with me.
Yeah! Yeah!
It just evolves to us just yelling noises at each other.
I hope you enjoy. We've been recording for like 3.5 hours. Oh my gosh!
But yeah, so sorry guys for the super long episode. That's just kind of how it is with
I'm not
these
sorry.
list ones with our tendency to get off on tangents. But I hope you enjoyed this episode.
Watch it in pieces if you have to. But you're not.
Yeah, like
the end.
listen,
What I just said has
listen
no
to it
meaning.
in like 15-minute increments or whatever.
Yeah, go back and re-listen to this after we told you. Yeah, I bet everyone's like, "What? I just listened to this for like 3.5 hours, and now they're telling me to go back and watch it in 15-minute different times. What is this? I'm not listening."
So much
anymore.
mic peeking.
We lost our entire fan base because I told them this.
They disowned us.
Screw them! I hate a couple metalheads. I hope Nurgle listens to this and is disappointed. Then I'll be like, no, please, I want him to like this. I don't even know if I want him to find this.
Anyway, so Pavlos, where can people find us so they can keep up to date with all the current happenings of this podcast?
You can find us on this website, Anchor.fm. Or not FM, sorry. Anchor.com, something like that. We're also on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube, and some other stuff that I don't know about. It's automatically uploaded to other things I found out. I don't know what.
Oh, nice.
Play or something, I think. We have an Instagram
sweet.
that I don't do a lot on. I have 3 posts. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
But, you make sure to go follow that. We may or may not get a Facebook page.
Give me like 6 years and I'll do it.
Perfect. That's a great
one
amount of time.
after we stopped after the whole podcast is retired. It's just it's the fan Facebook page for all our fans, and there's like 3 people who are all like family members, or friends. My mom, your aunt, and some Nurgle.
There you go. Perfect. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for listening. Hope you have lovely lives. Please take care of yourself. We're so close to getting live music back. That vaccine's coming down the pipeline, so stay strong.
Drink the vaccine.
Social distance. Wear your masks. And
don't do drugs.
Don't do drugs.
Don't eat
nice.
people. Don't
eat people.
Don't lick paintings. Don't eat crayons. Don't eat anything, and don't drink pee like Fat Mike.
Yeah, don't do that.
That's all.
Keep on listening to metal. Rock on.
And all your non-metal music.
Yes. Listen
to it. Remember to listen to the sound of you breaking that Nickelback CD.
My favorite. Anyway, see you guys.
Bye. Remember that I am always on this podcast every episode. Bye-bye.